Barnum.
Yeah.
You're the voice.
You're the voice, Daddy. You're back.
Yes, I'm
Slept
back
in
after a
yesterday.
full day off.
Yeah, you slept in. That's
No,
what
I
happened.
did not
You
sleep
did
in.
sleep
No,
in,
I
did
did
you?
not sleep in.
Did you not sleep
I've
in?
never slept in yet.
Have you
Well,
not?
I did sleep in once. Once just.
I was
But
kind
it
of
was
thinking
a long,
you don't sleep in.
long time ago.
Daddies don't sleep in if they have somebody in the middle of the bed, like with feet and
no,
arms.
there's no
and-
chance of that. No, but I did sleep in once, but that's it.
Did you panic when you woke up? I remember stepping in once and I
It
phoned
was
Caroline.
very unpleasant. It'll never happen again. It was years and years and years ago. Donegal were playing, I think, in a semi-final on a Sunday or something.
And you were out the night before.
Well, I'm not blaming that.
You're having a good time.
It was a long time ago, though.
Yeah,
so it's okay.
but you're older and wiser now.
Yeah,
Big
but
mature
I just
head on
forgot
you.
to set alarm clocks and stuff.
That's all right. I remember I was late
That
one
must be
time.
15 years ago.
When I kind of
You've been
started.
late a number of times.
No, excuse me. Only
yeah.
once, and I phoned into Caroline. What happened? I don't know what it was. I phoned Caroline anyway. I don't know. There was something that happened anyway. But I think I did. No, I did sleep in now. Just a minute. I slept in.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Just spit the dummy.
Why?
My alarm didn't go off. I've 3 or 4 set. We're gonna have a good show, right,
Hey,
boy?
come here. That's the crack now. What are you doing for the rest of the day?
I have to go to Sligo. After saying to you, I have to take a wee lead to an eye
Why
appointment.
do you have to go to Sligo for an appointment?
Well, he had.
No, I know the reason why.
Yeah,
You shouldn't have to.
Well, we couldn't get an appointment in Letterkenny, so it says go up to Casualty in Sligo for 2 o'clock. So I'm going to be there for 1 o'clock.
Yeah, my I didn't mean to be nosy.
No,
My
you're
point
not being
is
nosy.
that why are you having to go to Sligo for eye care?
Because there was no appointments yesterday, and we'd have to wait till Thursday in Letterkenny. so
Okay,
it
well,
has to be
it's not
dealt
too
with.
bad then. It's different.
But so
types of-
Sligo's not too bad. It's an hour and a half. Beats Galway, where Mum and Dad
Well,
is.
that, okay. We'll not get too newsy yet then.
All right, okay.
All
good
right,
luck.
come here.
Chat
Safe
to you.
journey down there, bro.
Bye.
All right, it is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio, and it is 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update, and it's good morning again to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. St Columba's College in Stranorlar has received approval from the Minister for Education, Norma Foley, to proceed to the tendering stage for a major extension and refurbishment project. Included in the construction is a special needs base, an external hardcourt play area and a multitude of subject-specific teaching facilities. 1,000 students are currently in attendance at the school. Deputy Pat the Cope Gallagher says if all goes to plan, construction should begin in around a year's time.
The Minister has now given the green light to invite tenders. Now that process will take some months, and it's expected that they will be invited by e-tender by the third quarter of this year, and hopefully a contractor will be appointed early next year following on the commencement of the work.
Over 50% of people who immigrated here in 2023 did so for employment or education reasons. The latest report from the European Migration Network of Ireland found over 149,000 people moved here in the 12 months up to April 2024, a 5% increase on the previous year's figure. International protection applicants made up just 3% of that figure. Ciara Murphy helped author the report and outlines the reasons why people came to Ireland.
Around 30% of them are for employment, 21% are for education, 19% for family, and about 3% for international protection. Then there's 27% for other reasons. Now, what's really important to flag there is that doesn't include people coming from Ukraine. They're excluded from those residence permit statistics.
Opposition parties are joining forces to try and stop some independent TDs getting speaking rights in the Dáil. It's after the Ceann Comhairle said the group of independents that will support the government can have opposition speaking rights. Sinn Féin, the Social Democrats, Labour and People Before Profit will issue a joint submission today to challenge this. Labour TD Duncan Smith says you can't be in government and in opposition at the same time.
You can't support a government and you can't draft a programme for government and then some of your members then declare themselves to be opposition and then eat into opposition time and get opposition resources and have leaders' questions and committee chairs and committee places. They can have all those things, but they should have them as being members of government, which is what they are.
The price of beef is expected to increase as supplies fail to meet demand. The number of cows available for processing in the first half of the year is predicted to drop, with the IFA reporting base prices of €6 a kilo being offered to farmers. It's thought the price increase could be passed on to the consumer in supermarkets and restaurants. And now to weather. Mist and fog slowly clearing this morning with sunny spells and scattered showers for the rest of the day. Highest temperatures of 7 to 5 degrees in light southwest or variable breezes. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. Back again at 10 o'clock.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till Noon Show. It is Tuesday the 21st of January and we're just after 4 minutes past 9. How are you all keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed, and hopefully we've done our job right and we'll keep you happy, informed and entertained over the next 3 hours. Lots coming up on the programme, of course, including just after 10 o'clock. Garda Sergeant Ewan Walsh will join us for Community Garda information. That and so much more besides. Your text, calls and comments come in to us the following ways. Your text and WhatsApp 086 60 25,000. You can send your voice notes to that number as well. If you want to give us a call, 07491 25,000. We love your emails, comments at highlandradio.com. And if you're watching the show, you can, of course. We are streaming across YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch us on your mobile devices, your smart TV or your Fire Stick, whichever suits you best. We're on Facebook, Highland Radio News, Sport and Obituary Notices, Highland Hub, and on the X platform as well. And feel free to comment on the stream there as well. Right, okay, let's have a look at the newspapers. Dominated by Donald Trump. A lot of catastrophizing. It sells, you see. Fear sells. I don't know what Donald Trump will mean to the Irish economy or the European economy. A lot of his election bluster, he rolled back a little bit in relation to that. But we'll have to just wait and see. The one thing is that, generally speaking, a world leader comes in, it doesn't necessarily often have global ramifications. I'm not sure historically, other than a war starting, historically when that has happened. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see what the next 5 years, or 4 years, 5 years his term is, isn't it? We'll have to see what that holds. We'll start with the Irish Independent, and Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th president yesterday, returning to power with a promise to end America's decline and to completely and totally reverse the actions of the man who drove him from office 4 years ago. Trump overcame impeachments, criminal indictments and a pair of assassination attempts to win another term in the White House, and he planned to act swiftly after the ceremony. Dozens of executive orders were prepared for his signature to clamp down on border crossings, increase fossil fuel development and end diversity and inclusion programs across the federal government. The last one really is effectively that they would try and hire people who are diverse, gender, sexuality, whatever it might be. And I think most people would be of the view that the best person for a job should get that job. I don't mean this offensive, but not necessarily the best black person or the best lesbian should get the job. It should be the best person and everyone is treated equally. That's what getting rid of the DEI effectively does. We'll see what he can achieve in terms of removing illegal immigrants from America. And a lot of people will perhaps welcome his commitment to the fact that, or he would see it's a fact, others will see differently, that there are two genders, male and female. States and there are what they call safe states as well. States have some influence on that, but anyway, it's an executive order. The orders from the Republican president will begin the process of unravelling the Democratic agenda of Joe Biden, whose term ended at noon, moments before Trump took the oath of office, declaring that government faces a crisis of trust. Trump said in his inaugural address that under his administration, our sovereignty will be reclaimed, our safety will be restored, the scales of justice will be rebalanced. Trump claimed a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal, promising to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, he added, as Biden watched from the front row, America's decline is over. The executive orders are the first step in what Trump calls the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. So I've been talking on this program on certain issues for years that, you know, for many people, we went too far in one direction and there would be a pushback. And this is really, I suppose, the ultimate pushback in that that's the way the United States is going. The Irish Times this morning, a member of the Irish Defence Forces who spurned the consensual offer that was made to him in a selfish, arrogant and forceful way, has been jailed for 8.5 years for rape of a fellow soldier at a Dublin hotel 3 years ago. Keelan Mooney, 30 of Bloomfield Park, Derry, was convicted following a trial at the Central Criminal Court last December on account of anal rape, oral rape and rape of the woman in the Dublin Hotel on July 26, 2021. He had pleaded not guilty to a total of 6 charges, 2 charges of rape, 2 charges of oral rape, a charge of anal rape and a charge of sexual assault. The jury failed to reach a verdict on the 3 remaining charges. The now 24-year-old woman, who is also a serving soldier of the Irish Defence Forces, indicated that while she was content for Mooney to be named in the reporting of the case, she did not wish herself to be identified. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and you heard reference to this perhaps from Donna Marie in the news at 9 there. Almost 150,000 people immigrated to Ireland over a 12-month period, a level not seen since the Celtic Tiger. New figures from the Economic and Social Research Institute show a total of 149,200 people arrived here in the year to April 2024, the third successive 12-month period where over 100,000 people immigrated to Ireland. So, who are these people? Well, 1 in 5 of those, or around 30,000 people, were Irish people coming home, effectively. 4% were UK citizens, 18% came from other EU countries, and 58%, or 86,000, were citizens of other countries outside the EU, including those fleeing Ukraine. So the majority arrived here. They could just move here. So if you're from Europe, you can just live here. If you're from the UK, you can just move here and live. Or obviously, if you're Irish, you can just come home. Then the others were made up of citizens from other countries outside the EU, including those fleeing Ukraine. Emigration also continued to increase, with 69,900 leaving here in the year to April, a 9% rise from the previous year. Net migration, or immigration minus emigration, was €79,300. So that means that's what the population would have increased by. Fine Gael TD and former Junior Employment Minister Neil Richmond told this newspaper the one thing these figures show is the vast majority of people are moving to Ireland and coming to do much needed jobs. On to the Irish Mirror now, and the ceasefire in the Middle East appears to be holding. Thousands of Gazans are gradually returning to their homes, many of them reduced to a pile of rubble. I mean, you've seen the images of people streaming back into their built-up areas, their villages or what have you, and there's nothing left. It's just been absolutely flattened. I wonder how aware they were that as they returned, really what they'd be returning to is rubble, and much of that rubble underneath perhaps the bodies of their friends, neighbours and family. Mohammed Abu al-Kir, a Palestinian man who now shelters in a tent in the city of Khan Yunis, said, "We found destruction. There is nothing to live in. There's no furniture or anything. Swathes of Rafah, close to Egypt, is turned into rubble. People were seen searching the remains of their homes. Others searched 2 military vehicles that Israeli forces left behind when they withdrew from the area." Local man Mahmoud Khamis said, "Who wants to live in such destruction? No one will come to live here." At 1 a.m. local time yesterday morning, Red Cross buses carrying 90 Palestinian prisoners arrived in Ramallah in the West Bank to be greeted by crowds of thousands. It was quite interesting to see as the first of the hostages handed back to Israel, as they were being transported back, surrounded by hundreds of Hamas soldiers, which to me was an indication to Israel and Israelis who perhaps thought they were successful in that. It demonstrated that Hamas still organised and strong. I presume that's what they were trying to achieve in any case. Closer to home, just across the water, and a violent, sick monster who murdered 3 schoolgirls at a Taylor Swift dance class had been referred to the UK government programme to stop people becoming terrorists 3 times. This is a story that shocked anyone who read it. But one referral came because teen Axel Rudakubana, who prosecutors said had a sickening and sustained interest in death and violence, wanted to carry out a school massacre. So they were aware of this person's motives. They were aware of his desires. He was referred to a particular program in Britain twice, but still was allowed to go on and commit these crimes. Counter-terror chiefs found the behaviour of the boy, who was obsessed with genocide, Adolf Hitler and Genghis Khan, concerning, but they ruled he was neither motivated by a terrorist ideology or posed a danger of carrying out an atrocity and so was not suitable to go on the Prevent Counter-Radicalisation scheme. MPs last night demanded an inquiry into how he slipped through the net. Elsie Dott, just 7, BB King, aged 6, and Alice De Silva, who was just 9 years of age, were all murdered by this person. And finally, let's go to politics back home, and we'll be talking about this a little bit later on. This is the story of government politicians wishing to sit with opposition so that they can get speaking time. And a lot of criticism has landed at the doorstep of Aontú leader Peadar Tóibín. He's under pressure to ditch a Dáil group with 4 pro-coalition regional independents, and he's going to be on the show to defend his position a little later on. Michael Lowry, Barry Hanahan, Gillian Toole and Danny Healy-Rae have all agreed to back the new government, but they also formed an opposition technical group with independent Carol Nolan and Aontú's Tóibín and Paul Lawless to get Dáil speaking time. So they will be effectively on the government side in terms of making decisions, but then will be on the opposition side where they'll be able to speak on matters. Now, I'm not sure what their motivation is. Could it be like one of those TikToks where the person speaks to each other with hilarious results, or is it that perhaps maybe they're afraid of losing their identity in a government of 2 big parties? I don't know what the motivation is, but opposition parties are furious, with Sinn Féin and the Social Democrats urging the Aontú leader to pull his party out so the group drops beneath the numbers needed. So what do you think? As I say, Peadar Tóibín will be on with us later. Do you believe that he's right to facilitate these government independents to have opposition speaking time, or do you believe it is a government ruse to try and squeeze the opposition? I don't know what the motivation is. You can speculate that in yourselves. But what I do know in speaking to people out and about off air is that regular folks aren't too happy about it at all. The old phrases like run with the hare and sleep with the hounds, or hunt with the hounds, isn't it? Any views on that or anything else raised in the look through the papers today, please get in touch with us. 086 60 25,000. That is the WhatsApp and text number. If you've never contacted a radio show before, we really want your views, whoever you are. Or give us a call to an 07491 25,000. It is the 9 till noon show with me, Greg Hughes.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Create a vibrant stir-fry for 2 for just €5 with Dunnes Stores. Start with chow mein or egg noodles, then choose from a selection of fresh vegetables like a rainbow stir-fry mix and bring it all together with a delicious sauce like teriyaki and chili. And add Bord Bia quality assured meat for just €3. Choose from beef or pork strips or chicken mini fillets. Plus, save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
When you're a farmer, fatigue doesn't just increase your risk of a serious accident. It can also significantly reduce your ability to carry out tasks effectively, which impacts the quality of your work and the productivity of your entire farm. When you're fatigued, your whole farm feels it. Learn more about how to deal with fatigue on the farm at hsa.ie/farm fatigue, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
Well, the time now is 18 minutes past 9. Now, more than 20,000 students who had exemptions from studying Irish at second level on the grounds of having a learning disability were studying other languages such as French, German and Spanish last year. The figures come at a time of concern among some campaigners over the state of Irish due to the rising number of exemptions at second level, which have climbed from 3% in 2000 to 13% last year, or more than 55,000 students. Laura Heaney is an Irish language content creator and Ross Naroon actor and joins us now. Good morning, Laura. Thanks so much for your time.
Good morning, Greg. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
Now, why is this a concern to you? I mean, it's pretty obvious, but we'll start at that point.
It's a concern because of the status that it is creating for the language, I would say. Creating this claim, I suppose, in this narrative that the Irish is hard to learn, and the accessibility to exemptions is just reinforcing that claim. And it's a huge concern because of all the benefits of language learning and the opportunities that come with Irish, and the potential and the opportunities and these benefits that the kids are being deprived of and missing out on in the future and at the minute, in the present.
Because there are so many exemptions, it might create a culture or a trend amongst peer groups to say, well, I got out of it, you can get out of it potentially. And then when you see that those with exemptions are studying other languages, it sort of talks to that, doesn't it? We need to, I think, as sort of adults and those teachers need to step in here.
100%. And creating these attitudes, the negative attitudes, it's not, I'd say, the best way going forward. But school is obviously really hard, and you can completely understand why the kids are wanting these exemptions and why the parents are wanting to give them to it. But it is just, as I said, depriving the kids of opportunities that may lie ahead.
But I just got thinking back to when I was much younger at school. You're always, as a student, not always, sorry, there are exceptions, but you're going to choose the path of least resistance. And unfortunately, more so, perhaps, parents are going to take the path that's the easier life to things that, are not going to stem the flow of exemptions.
100%. And even if you think back to whenever you were a kid yourself, as you said, the path of least resistance, and there's so much stress and pressure on the kids as it is and the students, and it's a hard time as it is. So any method that you can take and any path you can go down to alleviate that stress, as I said, is something that really what people are wanting to take. But Irish is, I'd say the education system is hard anyway, so it's just a pity that Irish is being the collateral damage, say, of these of how hard it is.
I want to talk about your experience in a moment, but again, if we're going to look at this, do we need to then also have a proper look, or even perhaps reform of how we teach Irish? You know what I mean? That because, if we sort of try and reduce the exemptions and say, really, you're not actually exempt, but at the same time, we have it taught in a way that a lot of people disagree with. You know what I mean? We could potentially do an awful lot of good if we try and address two problems at the same time.
100%. There are other steps that do need to be taken to respond to the students' needs before they just jump the obstacle and grant the exemption. There 100% is space for review and reform of many aspects of the system, as I said, and the syllabi, to have it more appropriate and immersive for individuals and individuality and accessible to those who find it hard. For example, learning essays off by heart, that's often a topic that is raised. But and students do need to be enabled and supported to achieve their potential based on their personal skill sets and unique abilities, but the teachers themselves do not have the resources to do this. They famously do not have the resources. Being a teacher involves, 100 more things than teaching a school subject. I had the privilege of working down in Finn Valley College there in Stranorlan and Jewish National School, and the teachers dedication to the support of each individual student is unbelievable. And now they're up against this fight in which students want exemptions because they can get them sometimes, and other times it's of course not as simple as that. And how can you blame the students? As we were saying, like if I was 15 and I thought I could alleviate the stress, I would. But you don't realise the cultural and the historical significance of the language and how it connects us to our national identity, you know, at that age.
And also, too, we have to make sure what we're doing for the children is right, because that, again, is our responsibility. So, say, for instance, in the area of dyslexia, where you can get an exemption, obviously, Dyslexia Ireland is maintaining that, you know, some students need that exemption, but there is also other evidence to suggest that you know, continuing to learn Irish is not in any way harmful to someone with dyslexia, and indeed might have benefits. So we need to make sure that the exemptions themselves are solid and in the best interest of the student.
100%. Language learning is so hugely beneficial to a person's overall cognitive development and control, and it's doing them an injustice to deprive them of these potential benefits if not genuinely necessary. As you said, like there has been studies and statistics that prove and that give evidence that studying additional languages can improve literacy skills of kids with dyslexia as well. So easy access to exemptions just reinforces false claims that, you know, Irish is too hard to learn. And Irish is hard to learn, as hard as any other subject is. It reinforced the idea that it's unimportant, and you know that's just such a pity.
Just two comments from the Minister for Education. She's defended the system, and some people will disagree with her. She says the increase is due primarily to much greater rates of diagnosis of learning difficulties, right? But we have to make sure that exemptions in that area is the right thing for the child. But also, she referenced more students who were educated abroad joining Irish schools. Now, I'm not sure if I were to move to France or Germany and I was 12 or 13, or Spain or wherever it might be, any other country, that I would sort of disengage from certain classes because I couldn't speak their languages. I presume there'd be an onus on me, right, for many reasons, involving yourself in the culture and the country and what have you, that it would be very much in the favour of new students coming to this country to be accommodated to learn Irish and not be given an instant exemption.
100%. I live up here in Galway. I work down TG Cahir, as you were saying, and there's kids down in Connemara, and they came from Ukraine there a few years ago, and they've learned Irish before they've learned English. So it's just so lovely to see now that they have Ukrainian and Irish, and they kind of skipped the Gaelic. So, like as you were saying, it's such a benefit.
I mean, is there a greater form of integration than that? I can't imagine so. And we shouldn't be, I think it's historic from our history that we are afraid of our culture, or we don't want to impose it on anyone, or no, you don't. You know, there's no harm in it. It's good. People want to move to different countries and absorb the culture of those countries to a great extent. So in terms of your use of the language, your learning of the language, and how beneficial was it you, of course, through the school years, but also then as you moved into sort of your adult working life?
Oh, so I would be nowhere. I would not be where I am today without the language. I got my dream job because of the language. My best friends are Gaeilgeoirs. I live with Gaeilgeoirs. The Irish language will take with it into your life endless opportunities, and everybody within the industry and in Seeing the Gaelic would tell you the same. I work with the Irish News in Belfast as well, producing political and current affairs content through the language, and to be producing Irish language content on an English language news platform is unprecedented online, and it's a huge privilege. And to be working with the national broadcaster as well, like I would have none of these opportunities of work. Like I got one of the girls sent me a message this morning with the TV guide, and I'm sat in between Davina and McCall, and I was, how the heck did that happen except for the language? Do you know what I mean? So Seeing the Gaelic is so creative, and it caters to absolutely everybody, and to deprive kids of the opportunities that come with the Irish would just be doing them a huge injustice. Like to think that thousands of kids are going to now grow up and not have that option is such a pity. And to think that they would look back and think they missed out on life-changing opportunities would be such a shame on a personal level for them, let alone being a big hit to the Changa.
Yeah, I don't know many adults who don't regret, who can't speak Irish, who don't regret it. That would, they often say, "I'd love to be able to communicate in Irish," and then often it's too late because life's so busy. Just a comment from me briefly: too much teaching of Irish in writing and not teaching talking Irish. Also, we should say small Irish sentences in shops, etc., to help spread Irish. There are local initiatives to try and get people to use small bits of Irish, but just in terms of how it's taught, for some it's like learning answers to questions to sort of get you through the Leaving Cert, rather than actually, coming out of secondary school, having studied Irish all your school life, and at the very least, having quality, good conversational Irish. What's your view on how we teach it?
The syllabus does, I think, put 40% of the marks onto the oral, and I do think written is really important as well. And then part of that written syllabus constitutes poetry and stories, and they're, I do think, important to our culture and learning about our history and all these things. And like, as I was saying there about that is a common narrative. Like, you do hear, it's the way it's taught, but that, as I was saying about the teachers, and they're doing absolutely amazing work. But I do think that the concerns regarding the status of the language very much does trickle down from the status of the language within the government, in terms of budgetary allocations and the allocation of government officials and representatives. And as we were saying, it's so understandable. Like, school is so hard, but our mother tongue just does not deserve to serve as collateral damage. And the Department of Education is so right to be taking action. The language has received support from the government, but it does need millions more. The election of a Cian Comhairle without Irish is something that we hopefully won't see in the 35th Dáil, and in 2026 the allocation of a few more millions for the language is imperative.
Although we see with Joe McHugh, if she does actively try and learn the language as an adult, and as I say, similar to former Deputy Minister Joe McHugh, that could turn out to be a positive.
100%. And even, like, as you were saying there, the wee saying Gora Mayogat, whenever you're leaving the shop, instead of saying thank you and saying Dirich instead of saying hello, it's all these lovely, and slan, it's all these just wee tiny things that can really implement respect to the language and to the culture. And it's just lovely, like, for our national identity, and to, think of all these significant of our ancestors and everything that they fought for, because Irish was made illegal. And with that came, that was implemented, those laws were implemented with violence and shame. And for the language to have survived all that is just really important, and it's so important for us to hold on to that. So if there's any students or teachers or parents listening, there's so many opportunities, and stick at it. I was in the exact same position. My auntie and my cousins, they're Irish teachers, and they didn't let me off the hook doing the Leaving Certs, and that's I owe it all to them. So
right.
If I could say anything to anybody, it'd be stick at it.
Well, listen, Laura, continued success. It's great to see how well you're doing. Thank you so very much for your time. So Gura Mahagut, Tagas Majin Wai, Slán, thank you. Bye. That's Laura Heaney there, Irish language content creator, Rosna an actor, and also very busy in other things. The state's mass immigration policy is destroying our culture, heritage and language. The majority of those who are seeking exemptions are Irish kids, many with learning disabilities. There are some exemptions for those that are coming here, but the majority are those with a learning disability. Talking in Irish in class instead of the hard Irish writing would be more beneficial, believes a listener. The Gaelic language is very difficult to learn, especially if your parents do not have the language. I grew up in a house where my dad did and my mum didn't. More needs to be done to help young people learn it more. You see grinds for maths advertised all the time, but rarely do you see grinds in Irish advertised. But it's I know this is going to sound like a strange metaphor, but it's like breastfeeding, right? If a woman doesn't have a mum or an auntie that breastfed, then she's less likely to breastfeed. if you have a mum or a dad who doesn't speak Irish, you're less likely to speak Irish. But eventually, if you want to return to high levels of either, you have to break the cycle so that the young people now become the Irish-speaking mums and dads of the next generation, if that makes sense. So you have to start somewhere because the chain, the links are to a great extent broken now. The water in Liscaran between Drumkeen and Balbafay is off and on a regular basis, but it went off yesterday and is still off. Does anyone know what's going on? I'll have a look at that. Right, now, hi Greg. 2 genders from now on. Will the judges put Enoch Burke back in jail? Fake climate that use push with all your so-called university experts, and Dr. Fucci pardoned, which this country gave him an award last year. You supported the Biden crime family. All pardoned for what? The media's next. I have no idea what you're on about in terms of supporting the Biden family. So I don't know what you're accusing me of. I haven't put Enoch Burke in jail. I haven't. I don't know. Anyway, listen, thanks for your text. There's a lot in it. Take me a while to digest. Hi, my lovely home help carer wife arrived home last night at 9:30, exhausted. She starts at 7:30 with one break at midday. It's not fair. It's not fair to read out that they don't do much. And by the way, they are allowed to prompt clients to take their medication in Donegal. Their hours are being cut and an embargo for taking on new home help is in place for at least 6 months. I don't know why it's been said where the employees going to come from. I know loads of people that would love to do the job if it was available. That comes in from PJ. Now, PJ, I'm not sure. That must be a story that was on yesterday because I never read that out. Okay, back with more after our break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Are you doing dry January? Says I to Mr. Brennan. Well, to see, I gave it a go, but I only lasted a couple of days. I mean, a whole month of only eating dry toast when our beautiful fresh Brennan's family pan calls out for butter, for bacon, for sauce, and for delicious fillings of all sorts. Who'd be able? True for you, says I. Sure isn't that why anything baked is better with Brennan's. Today's bread, today.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
How does one define grand? Acceptable. Grand. Not too much trouble. That's grand. Say no more. Grand so. It's time to redefine grand and change perceptions. The new Opel Grandland. It's grand. New Opel Grandland. Available in hybrid and electric. Go grand. Test drive the new Opel Grandland at Manor Motors Opel. See manormotors.ie for details.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware half-price sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, bathware, cladding, everything's reduced. Tiles from only $4.99 per square yard and wood flooring from only $9.99 per square yard. Right Price Tiles, wood flooring and bathware half-price sale ends Sunday.
Looking for a new opportunity? Join the team at Irwin Expert Electrical in Letterkenny. We're hiring a full-time store person. No experience? No problem. We'll provide all the training you need. Apply now. Send your CV to info@irwinexpert.ie today.
You're welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. A caller says, I went to On Green on Fort at the weekend for a visit and was shocked at the disrespect of such a site. It's clear from photos which they sent to us that someone has gone inside this sacred place on a quad and did donuts in the middle of it and on the outside of it. Why is this site not protected by locked gates that people can walk through but vehicles of any description cannot get access to? Nowhere else in the world would such a monument be shown such disrespect, they say. Looking at the pictures, it doesn't look like a quad to me. It looks like a scrambler or something. I'll throw those pictures up on the screen at a later date. But anyway, that is that situation. As I say, I'll look into that. Right, okay. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We're going to be joined in the not too distant future by Ain't Do leader Peadar Tóibín. But first, I'm joined on the telephone line now by Sinn Féin TD Padraig McLaughlin. And this is off the back of government independence seeking, and seemingly they're going to get, opposition speaking time. Deputy McLaughlin, what's wrong with this? Are you there? No, I don't have him. So I'll go first to the gentleman who arguably is allowing this to happen. Deputy Peadar Tóibín, Ain't leader. Good morning, Peadar. Thanks so much for your time.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Really appreciate your time. Okay, so you're getting a lot of criticism that your party is facilitating a situation where effectively government TDs are going to be able to take opposition time as part of the technical group. Right. Why do you think this is okay?
Okay, so first of all, we're not. So if AIM2 were to pull out of the technical group would still exist. It would still have 5 members and would still have speaking time. The only difference would be that AIM2 would have no speaking time whatsoever. So just to give your listeners a background of what happens, before each Dáil starts, it's kind of like a game of musical chairs, and each TD has to find themselves a technical group. Each small party or opposition independent has to find a technical group to be part of, or otherwise they don't have any speaking time. Now, what I mean by that is they don't have leaders' questions. They can't ask questions of the minister, only through a lottery, and the question might come up for months. They don't have membership rights to committees, so they can't hold ministers to account. So you have to beg, borrow and steal for a minute here or a minute there to try and represent your constituents or hold the governments to account. So it's simply not an option for a TD with any level of ambition to be able to represent their constituents to go in and deny themselves purposefully speaking rights. A technical group is not an alliance. It's not a platform. You're not allied to people. Actually, I voted against the government supporting independence practically at every stage in the last Dáil, in the same technical group which exists, which nobody blinked an eye about, even though those TDs were supporting the government in the last Dáil as well. So
how did you manage to sort of seemingly paint yourself into a corner whereby you are forced then to share speaking time with these government independents, or have no speaking time yourself at all? Is that not an oversight on your behalf? As many people would have seen Ain't2 as a party, another party to hold the government to account, and it looks like really you're actually working with the government.
So basically, that's not correct, and it's really important to say this. Ain't2 is the strongest opposition party in the Dáil. In actual fact, Sinn Féin wanted to negotiate government with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. The Labour Party did, the Soc Dems did, Independent Ireland did. Every single group in the Dáil, bar Ain't2 and People Before Profits, were willing to put Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael back into government after the last election. Really. So, in terms of opposition credentials, ours are impeccable in relation to this. So, no matter which group you joined a couple of after the general election, all of those groups were actively pursuing negotiations with government. It just so happens that one were successful in terms of the group around some of the regionals, and that was the difference. But we if you look at the last Dáil and you talk about opposition, like Sinn Féin supported the government in terms of the COVID restrictions. They supported the government in terms of the referendums. They supported the government in terms of immigration. They supported the government in terms.
But you're talking maybe to Sinn Féin voters, or those who might choose to Sinn Féin. What about talking to Ain't2 voters who didn't think a vote for you or your candidates around here would mean that you would find yourself in a situation whereby it was you that was facilitating, and I know you're not doing it by choice, right? But you could still pull out of it that you are facilitating government independent TDs squeezing the opposition, running with the hare and hunting with the hound, and and morally.
In fairness, I just wanted to in fairness, it's important that we are factually correct here, Greg.
Of course, that's why we invited you on.
If Ain't2 were to pull out of this technical group, the technical group still exists.
Yes.
So facilitation means that you allow something to happen. So our membership of this neither allows it nor stops it to happen. It is actually independent. The group operates and can operate independently.
I know, but you're talking about the technical side of it, right? Which is the fact. I'm on about the public perception of it. Okay, so morally,
can we align public perception with fact, though? Here,
of course you can. That's what you're doing.
Public perception to divorce itself from fact, then what we're doing is we're having
never a good idea. Never a good idea.
Never a good idea.
But
sure.
That being said, are you comfortable with the situation?
Oh, listen, look, what we want is actually for a proper reform of the
standing
orders.
But as it is now, are you comfortable with the situation?
The truth of the matter is, we want a situation where every TD has the right to speak on behalf of their constituents on the basis of their democratic.
For sure. But are you comfortable with this current arrangement that you found yourself in?
Oh, well, look, I would be more comfortable, Greg, if I had 5 AIN2 TDs.
No, I'm on about I'm on about yes, but you're talking about every other scenario other than the scenario I'm asking you about. Are you comfortable with this situation that you've found yourself in?
Well, to be honest, really, I don't really find major discomfort from the attacks from the opposition parties.
No, that's still not what I asked.
I want just let me finish the point, because
you're catching government.
When I'm in my constituency office, the people coming in want me to fight for housing. They want me to fight for the
but they also want a political system. They also want a political system, right, whereby you have a government and you have an opposition, and you have a strong opposition to hold that government to account. Now, even if you don't leave this technical group, that technical group remains, and the status quo as is remains, okay? But the way it looks like is that you are in a technical group, okay, that is facilitating independent government TD.
It does. And I'm afraid, Greg, it doesn't, Greg, because what some of the opposition parties are trying to pretend that that's the case. But in reality, it's not the case, and I've given you the reasons why. And the last point I would make in this is, this is a political bubble conversation. Not one person has come into an AIN2 constituency office and said, you know what, guys, it's not the housing issue that I'm worried about. It's not the issue that my child is on a hospital waiting list, or that we can't get our child into CAMS service. It's the fact that there's a technical group which would exist anyways, even if you weren't.
It's astonishing, because from my speaking to people, this is actually a really, really big deal to them. This is a really big deal that you have government TDs taking up opposition time. It really is. But
if it is, Greg, if it is a big deal, how come nobody mentioned it in the last government?
Well, you tell me that. Maybe
exactly. So like, really,
how did it work in the last government? Explain that, just so people are aware of it.
Yeah, in the last government, Michael Lowry, Noel Grealish, and Dennis Naughton voted 97% in favour of the government, and did so on the basis of an agreement that they had to support the government. There's practically no difference in relation to the two situations that pertain in the last government.
I think it's the speaking time. Well, let's see what Sinn Féin TD Pádraig McLaughlin has to say. He is the whip of the Sinn Féin party. It's much ado about nothing, Pádraig. Even if AIN2 pulled out of this technical group, it would be of a scale that would still allow these government TDs to speak in opposition. So why round on AIN2 on this matter, if that's the case?
Well, I mean, the main fight that I would have here is with the government and Michael Lowry. Michael Lowry stood on the plinth with his 7 regional independents last week, right in front of the Leinster House, and he declared to the Irish people that the 7 of them would support the government in good times and bad. 4 of those 7 will be ministers in the government. Michael Lowry has negotiated the programme for government. The 7 have signed up to the programme for government. They will get resources from government, staff resources from government. So these are government TDs. All 7 of them now are government TDs. And it is outrageous for 3 of them to state that they want to be in the opposition. Imagine Michael Lowry is now going to describe himself as an opposition TD. He would take speaking time from the opposition. You take committee positions from the opposition. These are limited resources for the opposition in a democracy.
Okay.
Like our job, and
I know what you're saying. You're outlining a lot of concerns people have. You say your focus is in the government not named to. I was just reading a lot of stuff in the papers that said the Social Democrats and your party called on Peadar Tóibín to ditch the independent group. Are you backing away from that?
What I would say to Peadar, and like I've discussed this last week with Peadar, I mean, here's the reality. There are two other groups. There's the Independent Ireland group. There's 5 TDs there, genuine opposition. There's the group where Charles Ward is part of, 100% redress, along with People Before Profit, Brian Stanley and Catherine Connolly. There's 6 TDs there, independent. Why is Peadar not joining those two groups in opposition? They're genuine opposition groups.
Well, let's give
and here's the other.
We'll hear. We have the opportunity for an instant reply, Peadar.
Well, you mentioned to Padraig at the start of your question. You said, why is Sinn Féin rounding on Aontú at the moment? I think it's because of our growth over the last while is why the other opposition parties are annoyed at Aontú. They see how well we did in the elections, and they feel that we're eating their lunch. But I would ask them to compete on the bread and butter issues that are affecting people. And also, I just thought it was interesting how they put Johnny Girk up to attack Aontú yesterday. Johnny Girk has actually only spoken for 22 minutes in the last stall. For 60 minutes in the last year. He has the lowest speaking.
Greg, is Peadar going to answer that question? Is Peadar going to answer the question I just put to him?
Well, let him finish this point and then we'll ask.
He had the lowest speaking rate.
So why do you think he was put up? Sorry, why do you think he was put up? Because it was tactically. Are you saying because it was it tactically chip away at where Aontú's popular? But just to that question, why not? Why not join another technical group that doesn't have members supporting the government and seeking to squeeze opposition speaking time?
Well, it's easier said than done, Craig, because if you look at the, for example, the group where Charlie Ward is involved in, we spoke to actually Charlie Ward at the whole start of this process, but he's in a group that includes the likes of Ruth Coppinger, Paul Murphy, and Richard Boyd Barrett, many of whom would be very, very unlikely to allow for Aontú to join their group, etc. And in the same way, Independent Ireland, you have to realise these are competitor political parties. And if Padraig states that, well, why can't we just...
Is Michael Lowry not a competitor with you, Peadar? Is Michael Lowry not a competitor with you?
Well, it's a direct question to you, Peadar, if that's okay. Is Michael Lowry not a competitor to you, he said? You're talking about those that are...
The point is, see, we've been in this regional group for the last 6 years. This is our 6th year in this technical group. So the point that Padraig asks, and it's a good question, in fairness to Padraig, is why don't we join another group and share time with us? Why doesn't Sinn Féin share time with us? We will leave today, our technical group, if Sinn Féin shares leaders' questions, ministers' questions, and Dáil committee access with Aontú. Will you do that?
Padraig, that's a direct question.
Well, I tell you what, Peadar, we're happy to work with you. Like there are every single opposition group. And I would ask you to reflect on this today, okay? Every single opposition.
We'll get to that, Peadar.
Yes, Peadar. We will do. We will.
Mary Lou will give Peadar Tóibín her leaders' questions.
Well, just to be very clear, Peadar, you have dodged the question around. There are 2 other independent technical groups. No, Peadar. Let's be clear. There are 2 other independent technical groups. Peadar. There is plenty of scope for you to work with other opposition independents.
So you're going to be generous with other people's time, but you're not willing to share your time.
But Greg, I just want to deal with one other issue. Can I deal with one other issue?
Right, okay, we'll park that.
Peadar says that Aontú are making no practical difference here. That's not correct. To form a technical group, you have to have 5 TDs. 5 TDs. Right now, regional independents will have 3, okay? Carol Nolan, who's an independent TD who hasn't made her position clear, she may change her view too. That makes it 4. So Aontú are the reason why Michael Lowry can stand up and say, we want to form a technical group.
Okay, I want a direct response to that, that's quite the charge. Go ahead.
The maths are wrong here for start. So there's Danny, there's the 3 regionals, and there's Carol. And actually, Matty McGrath has joined us. They have 6. They have 1 extra, even without Aontú. And for the fact that Sinn Féin and the South Dems are making this charge against us without even doing the maths on it is also incredible.
I'll just say, Peadar, from my perspective...
Well, just to be clear, Greg, Matty McGrath, the official group, this was what was notified to the Business Committee last Thursday. This is the factual position as we speak. Michael Lowry informed the Business Committee, who represents Peadar, by the way, at the Business Committee. Michael Lowry said that the group is the 7 independents, his regional independents, Aintu and Carol Nolan. That's the group, okay? Four of those. That is the fact. Well, you need to check with Michael Lowry.
Okay, no, Peadar, I'll let you respond to that directly. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can update Padraig this because, as he knows, I'm in this group, so I know what's happening within it. The 4 ministers have resigned. They have sent their resignation letter in last Thursday. Danny Healy-Rae is a member of the group. And also Matty McGrath just joined in the last 24 hours. So, just mathematically alone, the charge that's been made against Aintu is completely spurious.
Deputy Peadar Tóibín, and maybe it'll become more apparent from what I'm hearing out there. It's not the technical reality of it; it's the perception of it that people have an issue. It remains to be seen where we go from here. Thank you so much for your generous sharing of your time. Take care, Deputy McLaughlin. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank
you.
It. Take care. Okay, back with the weather after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At Uisce Éireann, we're continuing to upgrade Ireland's water network to ensure a clean, safe and reliable water supply. When repair and maintenance work is required in your area, we want to make sure homes and businesses are informed. That's why we have a new free text alert service providing real-time updates for issues lasting more than 4 hours. Sign up with your mobile number and air code at water.ie. Uisce Éireann, delivering water services for Ireland.
If you're looking for a competitive insurance quote, contact Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers in Letterkenny. Home, car or van insurance, farm, commercial or public liability insurance. They compare quotes from all the leading insurers so you get a great price. Call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Renault Symbioz E-Tech Full Hybrid is a study in balance in an all-new family compact SUV, much like a symphony. The solar-based sunroof illuminates or darkens, and the smart infotainment system has Google built in. It's a soaring crescendo of a family hybrid. The new Renault Symbioz from 0% APR or €1,500 trade-in bonus. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. T's and C's apply. MFS, subject to lending criteria. Offers are limited. See Renault.ie.
When it comes to electrical waste recycling, we're pretty good with the big items like fridges, dishwashers and TVs. But what about those mystery cables or broken mobile phones? We throw them in a drawer, along with that ancient laptop that just might come in handy someday. The good news? You can recycle anything with a plug, battery or cable for free. And it couldn't be easier. For a list of drop-off points and participating retailers, just go to mywaste.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Join us on March 8th for our special occasion preview with the sparkling afternoon tea in Harvey's Point. Tickets go on sale Friday 31st of January at 7 p.m. Available from mcelhennys.com.
Now, mist and fog will slowly clear this morning with sunny spells and scattered showers for the rest of the day. Highest temperatures of 5 to 7 degrees and light southwest or variable breeze. We do know that the weather is going to turn somewhat inclement Thursday night into Friday and Saturday. It's going to be blustery and wet and potential for some snowfall as well. We'll have an update for you on that tomorrow. There's no point speculating about now because it'll become more clear what's in store for us on Thursday, Friday, tomorrow. Now, we're going to take a break for the news and the obituary notices. Just to remind you, straight after, we have the very latest appeals and information for you to hear and watch first here on Highland Radio. That's Community Garda information. So, as I say, that's coming up just after 10. So don't go anywhere because the news and obituary notices are next.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. details. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Here, Siobhan, listen to this email. Felicitations and unalloyed joy to you. Could you help with a small inconvenience? I possess $32 million in an account belonging to my father, the Prince. Oh, the Prince, Siobhan. We need an honest person to bank this amount for us. Oh, we're in the money.
Some things are too good to be true. The Specsavers Too Good deal isn't. Get 2 pairs of glasses for €100. Include single vision lenses to the same prescription. Conditions apply. Ask in store for details.
In the money.
That's the sound of someone sleeping soundly on a Restex mattress. Choose from the Donegal range. A Teelan, a Kinnigo, or a Mulroy mattress. It'll change the way you sleep forever. Restex beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
If you have a job to do over the weekend, Watson Hire have a brilliant weekend hire deal available. Get any item on Friday, keep it until Monday, and only pay for 1 day's hire. That's 3 days hire on any equipment or machinery for the price of one, making it even easier to get the job sorted. To book, call Watson Hire at Lisnen and Letterkenny on 9167777.
The new Kuga plug-in hybrid. It's more than just the sum of its parts. With more tech plus all the latest spec. A massive boot space plus loads of room for the kids in the back. And exceptional comfort plus a bold new look. It all adds up to a powerful formula. It's everything you'd expect from the Kuga, plus the unexpected. The new Kuga plug-in hybrid. Now available with up to €5,500 off new vehicles for 251. Search new Ford Kuga or find out more at Ford.ie. Ford, bring on tomorrow.
Join Nathan Carter in concert with special guest Lisa McHugh for an unforgettable night of music at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny on Sunday, February 9th. Tickets available now at Clanry Hotel reception or at eventbrite.ie.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Opposition parties are attempting to stop some independent TDs getting speaking rights in the Dáil. It's after the Ceann Comhairle said the group of independents that are supporting the incoming government can have opposition speaking time. Sinn Féin, the Social Democrats, Labour and People Before Profit will today issue a joint submission challenging this ruling. Labour TD Duncan Smith says you simply can't be in government and opposition at the same time.
These members who have drafted a programme for government and are supporting a programme for government want to eat into opposition time and present themselves as some kind of fake opposition. The people know that this is a stroke. I mean, people are talking about this.
There's been a lot of focus on the fact that Aontú is part of the same technical group as the regional independents, with calls on them to leave as they are effectively facilitating the emerging situation. On today's 9 till noon show, Deputy Padraig McLaughlin said there are other options.
There are two other groups. There's the Independent Ireland group. There's 5 TDs there, genuine opposition. There's the group where Charles Ward is part of, 100% redress, along with People Before Profit, Brian Stanley and Catherine Connolly. The 6 TDs there, independent. Why is Peadar not joining those two groups in opposition? They're a genuine opposition group.
Well, responding, the Aontú leader, Peadar Tóibín, said it's simply not that simple.
If you look at the, for example, the group where Charlie Ward is involved in, we spoke to actually Charlie Ward at the whole start of this process. But he's in a group that includes the likes of Ruth Coppinger, Paul Murphy, and Richard Boyd Barrett, many of whom would be very, very unlikely to allow for Aontú to join the group, etc. And in the same way, Independent Ireland, you have to realise these are competitor political parties.
St Columba's College in Stranraer has received approval from the Minister for Education, Norma Foley, to proceed to the tendering stage for a major extension and refurbishment project. Included in the construction is a special needs base, an external hardcourt play area and a multitude of subject-specific teaching facilities. 1,000 students are currently in attendance at the school. Deputy Patrick Gallagher says if all goes to plan, construction should begin in around a year's time.
The Minister has now given the green light to invite tenders. Now that process will take some months, and it's expected that they will be invited by e-tender by the third quarter of this year, and hopefully A contractor will be appointed early next year, following on the commencement of the work.
Over 50% of people who immigrated here in 2023 did so for employment or education reasons. The latest report from the European Migration Network Ireland found over 149,000 people moved here in the 12 months to April 2024, a 5% increase on the previous 12 months figures. International protection applicants made up just 3% of that figure. Ciara Murphy helped author the report and has been outlining the reasons why people came to Ireland.
Around 30% of them are for employment, 21% are for education, 19% for family, and about 3% for international protection. Then there's 27% for other reasons. Now, what's really important to flag there is that doesn't include people coming from Ukraine. They're excluded from those residence permit statistics.
And Donald Trump has said he'll make America rich by imposing trade tariffs on other countries. The US president has had a whirlwind first 24 hours in office, signing more than 100 executive orders. They include pulling the US out of its international climate agreements.
We're not going to do the wind thing. Wind, big ugly windmills, they ruin your neighborhood. But the wind isn't blowing, so we can't watch television that night, Gladys. Gladys, I'm sorry, the wind is just not blowing. We're not watching Trump tonight.
Mist and fog slowly clearing this morning. Sunny spells and scattered showers for the rest of the day. Top temperatures 5 to 7 degrees Celsius in a light southwest or variable breeze. Clear spells and scattered showers tonight, most frequent in the west. Mist and fog will develop once again tonight. Some dense pockets possible in a light southerly or variable breeze. Some frost patches developing as well, with lowest overnight temperatures -1 to +3 degrees Celsius. Areas of mist and fog will be slow to clear tomorrow morning. Sunny spells and scattered showers developing for the rest of the day, and top temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees Celsius in light southwest to west winds. That's Highland Radio News. Back with news headlines at 11 o'clock. Check all of the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The Obituary notices this Monday morning, January 21st. The death has occurred of John Kelly Glebe Stranorler, reposing at his late residence today from 7 p.m. until Rosary at 9 p.m. and tomorrow from 12 noon until 9 o'clock. Funeral leaving his late residence on Thursday at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorler at 11 a.m. Interment in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, to St Joseph's Community Hospital, Stranorler, care of any family member. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has taken place of John McCrossan, College Farm Road, Glencar, Letterkenny. John's remains will repose at the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny today from 5 o'clock until 8 p.m. John's remains will repose at his home tomorrow, which will be private to family only, please. Funeral from there on Thursday at 10:30, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Conwall Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Alzheimer's Society, Donegal branch, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Eileen Campbell, née Porter, Craitland St Johnston, formerly of Brandywell Avenue, Derry. Eileen's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving there tomorrow morning at 10:20, going to St Bathans Church, St Johnston for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred on December 13th, 2024, of Mary May Josephine Kelly, née Moss, Barnes, London, formerly of Cronalohy, Cullygordon, Donegal, reposing at the home of her brother Michael Moss, Mina Goland, Crossroads, Cullygordon. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Cullygordon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The death has taken place of Sandra Devenny, 70, Ranafast Annagry, formerly of Edinburgh, Scotland. Her remains are reposing at her home this morning. The house is private. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 a.m. in St Mary's Star of the Sea Church, Annagry. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on the parish webcam or on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of Paul Martin, 41, Ardnally Park, Strabane. Remains are reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 9:20 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. tonight. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to the Foyle Deaf Association, care of Quigley's funeral directors or any family member. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Rose Byrne ní Gallagher, 68A Millbrae, Buncrana. Rose's remains are reposing at her home. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 9:30 to St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana for Requiem Mass at 10 a.m, followed by interment in Burt Cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time please from 11 o'clock tonight and on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of Don Langan, 3 Main Street, Creasla. Don's remains are reposing at the Langan family home at 54 Massanas Cottages, Creasla. Funeral Mass in St Michael's Church, Creasla tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock with burial afterwards in Doe Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed on mcn.live. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 12 noon and tomorrow before the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or James Harkin, funeral director. The death has taken place of Ollie Lynch, 12 St Oliver's Avenue, Buncrana. Requiem Mass is ongoing in St Mary's Oratory. Burial afterwards in Cockhill Graveyard. The Mass can be viewed live now on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Teresa Loughlin, Shore Road, Kerrykeel. Funeral leaving her home at 10:20 this morning for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Massmount, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Mass will be streamed live on McElwee Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has occurred of Phil Boyle, Station Road, Glenties. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in St Connell's Church, Glenties, with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Family time this morning, please. Funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Liam Toland, LT, Carrowray Road, Carndonagh. His remains are reposing at his home. Removal from there this morning at 10:30, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on carndonaghparish.com. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Friends of Finishone Hospice, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. For family information and more detail regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Here's how a current account from An Post Money makes your money matter more. Make spending a way to save with tools like Roundup. Make light work of budgeting with An Post Money Manager. Make saving for whatever you're after easier with savings jars. The list goes on. Make your money matter more with a current account from An Post Money. Open an account on the An Post Money app or at your local post office today. T's and C's apply. An Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
You're very welcome back to the second hour of Tuesday's 9 till noon show. Community Garda information coming up for you very shortly. Some important appeals and information in there as well, so stay tuned for that. Now, the 34th Dáil is a farce. Greed and corruption will consume it all. We need a Trump-like clean-out. The amount of corrupt TDs. Where do you start asking them hard questions? Trump's got his work cut out for him, as does the likes of Elon Musk, who is part of the Doge setup, trying to clear out the ranks. It's not as easy. It's not as easy as it makes out. Mark my words, that'll be a falling out in the next wee while. Peadar, we don't care about the technicalities on this. We care about you enabling a crowd of dopes making a joke of our democracy. Well, obviously, they're elected TDs. They might not take kindly to being called dopes. Peadar says he's not actually enabling them because they have the numbers even without ain't do. But as I was trying to iterate to him, it's the perception of it. And as I say, people out and about of all different political persuasions don't seem comfortable with it. Typical BS from a politician will justify anything. There's no possible way to be in a group that is supporting the government to be in an opposition group. And you know, the point was made, and the point was made here off air as well. You know, you might say there's no political allegiance there, or they're not part of a political agreeable group, right? But The obvious reason why he wouldn't go in with others, like people for profit, etc., is because there are fundamental differences on some key topics, such as abortion, for that matter. So whilst he says it's just a technical arrangement, there probably are political reasons as to why they aren't in a different group. If this crowd of independents gets speaking time, then this coalition is a complete sham. How can they seriously sit there and say they are in support and in opposition at the same time? That caller concludes they are absolute jokers. Very busy on the comment section of our live stream as well. They don't want any confrontation from any groups, just governors that will agree with them. Speaking time, getting on board committees so that a lot of you can get the extra income from sitting on these committees. All TDs are the same, not serving the people, but looking after their own interests, says Anthony. Raymond says Aintree will be able to hold the new government to account. Well done. I'm sure Sinn Féin would jump at the chance too if they were given the choice. Patsy says, fully understand why these people are not in government, can't even agree with each other in opposition. God help us. Now, a caller says, I had to go to school from England. Sadly, I did not learn Irish, but useless French. And I wish I had, and many do so too. Get NECAP to review the Irish language education system. It needs to be revolutionised. Back to the stream. Sarah says the exception is made for Irish at primary school. Some children with additional needs struggle with English at this stage in their life. Never mind other languages. In secondary school, they are then young adults and can adjust to speaking languages much easier. The key word is option. Kids do have options. My son has ASD and struggles with anxiety. He tried all during national school to learn Irish, but it caused major distress and was affecting his other subjects. She makes it sound like a flippant decision. No, in fairness, the exception should and will always be there where it's genuinely needed. So just to be absolutely clear, there's been a jump, say, from 3% seeking an exemption in 2000, which I'm sure your son would have been amongst, jumping to 13,000. And the real conversation is that there are those seeking and getting an exemption, not because they need it like your son, but because just schools handier without Irish. So it's the second group we're talking about. So not those of you out there who've children who genuinely need that exemption. And even those who may need it, it's a group, a significant proportion of the 13% that are able to get the exemption and are taking it, but it's not necessarily for the reasons. It's just to make school a little bit easier. Congratulations to Laura in her success from a former primary school teacher in Sculmura in Stranraer. My two children, says another listener, my two children moved from England. They were older when we came. They did Irish in school. When it came to leaving cert, I applied for the exemption, but they took and passed the Irish. The reason for applying for the exemption was so that if they failed, it wouldn't prevent them attending university. Greg, the easiest way to help the language is just to make our children speak it. My children went to the Nínra, Gaelscoil, and now Coláiste Owen in Buncrana, and they love the love they have of their language by learning through Irish. In the grand scheme, perhaps start off by just speaking it as much as possible and all the way to junior cert. Worry about the academic stuff if they want to from there. Thanks as always to you and your team for the show. Thank you so much. My 9-year-old son has recently been given an exemption from Irish as he is dyslexic. Dropping Irish and focusing on English and his maths has completely increased his confidence, his enjoyment at learning in school. It also has removed the stress with homework. As his mother, I don't feel he's in any way deprived at school. I'm just happy that he's enjoying school now and his English and maths is improving. I think it's very easy for a non-dyslexic Irish-speaking person to say exemptions to Irish are given out too easy. Maybe spend a day with a dyslexic child and just see how much they struggle at school. And again, with respect to yourself and also to Laura, no one's talking about removing exemptions, and clearly your son has benefited to a great extent from the exemption. We're kind of talking about those that abuse the exemption system just for an easier pathway through school. So hopefully that's become clear in my responses to some understandable messages there. I have a child with dyslexia who has an Irish exemption. She doesn't use it. My preference was for help to be given rather than fire an exemption out. But dyslexia does not entitle children to access. I'm a Gaeilgeoir. I love our national language. Perhaps if the department started giving some help, I help my own child so she can keep on studying the language. Not everyone can do that. These parents have no choice but to use the exemption. And with you being a Gaeilgeoir, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about people speaking Irish, and who knows their child better than you. If they're speaking conversationally, if that's possible in the home, well, then maybe the academic side of it, in your case, takes a back seat. I'm not really quite sure. Hi, I was wondering if you would highlight the massive achievement of Donegal Youth Darts on winning every youth event in the West Coast Challenge in Leitrim this past weekend. Congratulations to them from their manager, David. Indeed, David, and I saw the videos and I saw the joy. And we've interviewed at least, I recognise at least one or two of the young people there that have been in the show in the past, and fair play to them. I mean, darts is booming right about now, isn't it? We've always had a strong level of interest in darts in this county and in this region. I know that from myself, from playing darts as a young person, and then on darts teams in pubs as I turned into an adult and what have you. And with the growth of the sport on TV nationally, and the likes of Luke Litter, of course, it's going to make some very interesting times ahead. Just a quick request before we take a break and welcome Ewan into studio. Twins Dermot and Derek Harkin, they're in Clohanbeg. Clohan, happy 21st birthday today. What a brilliant celebration for you two. Happy birthday from Mum, Dad, Tammy, John, Faith, Abby Ban and Sheldon. Have a fantastic day. Dermot and Derek Harkin. 21 today. Twins are amazing. Very similar DNA. Because the egg literally splits. Fingerprints are different, though, which I also think is interesting. So they've got very, very similar DNA, and their fingerprints are very different. Amazing stuff. Okay, had to laugh at Trump Says Charlie last night when he said he would get rid of all the criminals from the country. Surely he would be the first to go himself, and all the cronies around him have all done time. Well, that's the nature of politics. But if he's talking about getting rid of illegal immigrants that have criminal records, at least 50% of the US population, they like that and they want that. So that's what he says he's going to do. Tough job, though.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 21st of January. You're playing on the brown sheet for the Dilly prize of €800. The reference number is S17. It's game number 4. The numbers are 73, 61, 51, 32, 74, 71, 31, 21, 14, and finally 46. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
At DoorTech Garage Door Systems in Kilmacrennan, we specialise in the supply and installation of all types of industrial roller doors and garage doors. Whether for your home, business or farm, our doors offer the security you need. For premium quality doors, call DoorTech on 9139941 or visit doortech.ie.
Life getting busy? Restore your balance with HelloFresh, so at least dinner time's under control. HelloFresh dinner kits are easier than ever. Cook delicious meals in a few simple steps for home-cooked dinners that everyone will love. HelloFresh, hello dinner.
Copper is incredible. Sure, isn't that why Alexander Graham Bell used it? It's a perfect connection to the 19th century. Modern life needs modern technology. Cyro has always been fibre first. They get you up to speed with super fast, reliable, future-proofed fibre broadband. Get it through their retail partners like DigiWeb, Pure, Sky, Vodafone and others at cyro.ie today. Cyro, do life different. Subject to availability and location. Oh, lovely.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 21st of January, and it's time for this week's episode of Community Garda Information. Joined in studio today by Garda Sergeant Ewan Walsh from the Letterkenny Garda Station. Ewan, thanks so much for your time.
Good morning,
really
Greg.
appreciate it.
How are you?
I'm doing good, Ewan. We'll get straight into the appeals if that's okay. And investigations ongoing in relation to a fatal road traffic incident in Buncrana earlier this month.
Yes, Greg, Garda Buncrana continue to investigate a fatal road traffic collision involving a car and two pedestrians, which occurred last Tuesday afternoon on Main Street, Buncrana, Tuesday the 14th of January. One of the pedestrians, Rose Byrne, who was seriously injured in the collision, unfortunately passed away at Letterkenny University Hospital on Sunday the 19th. Greg, and our thoughts and prayers are with Rose and her family. Gardaí in Buncrana continue to appeal for witnesses to come forward. Road users who were travelling on the Main Street Buncrana area between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. last Tuesday the 14th are urged to contact Gardaí in Buncrana if they have any information or dash cam footage. Again, anyone information is asked to contact Buncrana Garda Station 07493 20540, or again the confidential line 1800 666 111, or indeed any Garda station.
Investigations ongoing too into the recent serious assault in Lifford Union.
Yes, Greg, a very serious aggravated assault which occurred yesterday morning, the 20th of January, at approximately 10 a.m. Two men were seriously assaulted at a house in the Lifford area. One man in his 20s was airlifted to the Royal Victoria Hospital, Belfast, where his injuries are of a serious nature. Fortunately, the second man, aged in his 60s, was brought to Letterkenny, where his injuries are of not a serious nature. So we're appealing for witnesses in this incident to come forward, please. Anybody who has camera footage, including dash cams, from the Coney-Borough Road, Lifford area between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. is asked to make this footage available to investigating Gardaí. So that's the Coney-Borough Road area of Lifford, yesterday morning between 20 a.m. and 11 a.m. And again, anybody who has any information to help us in inquiries is encouraged to contact Letterkenny Garda Station 07491 67100, or again the confidential line 1800 666 111.
Right, moving on now to a burglary in the Letterkenny area.
Yes, this is a burglary which occurred at a private house yesterday, Monday the 20th, between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. So sometime yesterday morning, Greg. Entry was gained to an apartment in the area, and when the owner returned, they found that the apartment had been broken into. No damage caused to the property, but the apartment was ransacked and a sum of cash was stolen. Items were moved around in the property as the suspects searched the apartment. So again, we appeal for anybody who observed any suspicious activity or vehicles in the area to contact the Garda Station in Letterkenny 07491 67100, or again the confidential line.
Second burglary being investigated in Letterkenny, this time at Castle Street.
Yes, this is a burglary that occurred at a derelict premises at the Castle Street area of Letterkenny between midday Wednesday the 15th, last Wednesday, and 12:30 p.m. on Thursday the 16th. So sometime after 12 o'clock last Wednesday, before midday on the Thursday. A window to the rear of the building was broken and entry was gained. Fortunately, nothing was stolen from the building. Again, if anybody can assist with our investigation, they're asked to contact Letterkenny Garda Station 07491 67100, or again the confidential line 1800 666 111.
All right, this time livestock seemingly stolen in the Milford district.
Yes, theft of a sheep from the Rosskirk Portsalon area of Milford between 3 p.m. on Tuesday last the 14th and 11 a.m. on Thursday the 16th, so sometime between Tuesday evening and Thursday morning. 5 sheep were stolen from a field in the area. One was a yellow painted Suffolk and 4 black and white Dutch spotted sheep. And again, to steal the quantity of sheep, obviously a trailer or transport is required. So we're appealing for anybody who may have observed any suspicious activity or unknown vehicles with trailers to contact the Gardaí at Milford 07491 53060, please.
Yeah, we'll be talking about another concern for farmers and their livestock shortly. But first, criminal damage in Letterkenny.
Yes, this is an unsavoury incident of criminal damage at the Orchard Crescent area of Letterkenny last Thursday morning between 10:20am and 10:25am, a very short time frame. A man approached a parked car in the area and he poured a non-nom substance all over the car, causing substantial damage to the car. The man in question was dressed all in black and he wore a balaclava. We know that he made his way from Orchard Crescent on foot in direction of Ardodonnell following the incident. And again, so we're appealing for anybody who travelled in the areas of Orchard Crescent, the High Road or Ardodonnell last Thursday, the 19th, between the times of 10am and 11am to make footage, if they have any footage, to make it available. And again, due to the time and bright morning, busy morning, we're confident somebody will have observed this male due to his unusual attire and the fact he was on foot in broad daylight in a busy area. Again, information to Garda Letterkenny 074 9167 100, and again the confidential line, please.
And as Ewan says, it's inevitable that someone saw him and maybe even saw him as he removed his balaclava or where he went thereafter. That information is out there. It's just a case now if you have it, connecting it with An Garda Síochána 9167 100. That was between 10:20 and 10:25 on Thursday, the 19th of December. Right, we mentioned the theft of sheep a little earlier on. Another threat to sheep, particularly during lambing season, is dogs out of control, Ewan, and this has been a hot topic on this show as of late.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year for our farmers, Greg. Lambing season's on the rise, and again, we'd like to once again to remind dog owners that their pet must be kept under control at all times. Please do not allow your dogs to roam and keep dogs away from lambing ewes as they are easily distressed. Again, by being a responsible dog owner, you can prevent vicious attacks on defenceless sheep and on their lambs. And again, with dog ownership comes responsibility. Secure your dog, always know where your dog is, have it microchipped and registered with your vet. And again, you're obliged to keep your family pet under effectual control at all times. And by doing so, we'll prevent, death of lambs and ewes at this time of year.
It's a lot of hassle to bring on to you as well. Far better to keep your dog under control in the first place. Right, okay, some updates. We'll start with Ovengate. This was mentioned on the show last week.
This is a good one, actually. We issued an appeal last Tuesday in relation to an oven that had fallen from the boot of a car while being transported in the area of Carnamugga down the road here in Letterkenny in early December. A man had been observed placing the oven in his van a short time later, and we're happy to tell you and your listeners that following the appeal, the man in question immediately made contact with us at Letterkenny. He had removed the oven from the road and had kept it in safe storage. He himself had been making inquiries locally in an attempt to return it to the rightful owner, and we now have received the oven from and returned it to the owner, and we're satisfied that what he did was genuine and his attempt to locate the owner was genuine.
Nothing half-baked.
So again,
there.
it shows the benefit of doing the appeals.
And I actually, that was what I suspected had happened, so that's cool. Right.
Oven's hot.
Yeah. Very good. Also, there was an appeal in relation to the theft of a vehicle.
Yes, last Wednesday morning we made an appeal on air here in relation to a car that had been stolen from Letterkenny the previous night. Just to let you know and your listeners know that since then the vehicle has been recovered in Letterkenny. A man was arrested and charged in connection with the incident. I'm aware personally that we received a lot of assistance from the public in relation to the location of the vehicle and the person involved. And again, like to thank the public. And again, this is why we're here. This is why we have the show, to make people aware of what's going on. But more importantly, to ask the public for assistance. And again, the public are the eyes and ears of the police.
And it's great when we get updates because obviously for operational reasons often we can't, even though quite a lot comes from items like this. So that's great to get
we wouldn't have solved this
feedback.
one without the public's assistance. I am aware of that. Greg,
Super
so
stuff. Okay. Right. Community meetings, upcoming community meetings. Useful for the public, useful for the guards, these two actually.
Yes, so we're having a number of community engagement and crime prevention meetings in our Letterkenny district. Two of them are taking this week and one next week. So Sergeant Fergus McGrory, our new Divisional Crime Prevention Officer, he'll be in attendance to offer crime prevention advice. Our local community policing Garda will be there, and we have other agencies and guest speakers. So it's an opportunity for us to receive feedback, queries from the public face to face, and invite the public to participate. Actually, there will be a survey to assist the planning for our policing plan for the year ahead. So it's a chance for us to meet the public, see where we're falling short, how we can improve police in your locality. There are 3 meetings. One is Tuesday, that's tonight, yeah. Lifford Clonley Resource Centre at 7 p.m, so everybody's invited to come along. Tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m, the Finn Valley Centre in Stranraer. Next Tuesday, the 28th of January, 7 p.m, Station House for the people of Letterkenny. So feedback, Greg, from our communities matters to us, and everybody is welcome to attend, and we look forward to meeting you all there.
Brilliant stuff, as always. Thank you very much indeed. We do appreciate your time, Ewan. That was Garda Sergeant Ewan Walsh from the Letterkenny Garda Station, and that item will be back for you after the news next Tuesday. Thank you, Ewan. Sorry, I had your mic down then. Sorry, I wasn't being ignorant. I just wanted to give you an opportunity again. Thanks, Ewan. Right, back with more after the break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 or apply online via our app or in office today.
God bless. Hi everyone, David James here, and I'm really excited to be launching my brand new band in the Allingham Arms, Bundoran on Saturday the 1st of February with special guests Conor O'Donnell and Hugo Duncan. Come along for a great night of music as I launch my new band, Saturday the 1st of February, Allingham Arms, Bundoran.
I'm Donegal Callahan with an emergency appeal for UNICEF. In Gaza, a ceasefire is finally coming. Children in Gaza have suffered unimaginable horrors. They've lost their homes, limbs, and face famine levels of hunger. UNICEF is on the ground right now, delivering life-saving food, water and blankets. But we desperately need more supplies. Please donate now at unicef.ie and help save a child's life today. Thank you.
Imagine a wedding venue that can be hired exclusively for you and your guests. Picture stunning views overlooking one of Donegal's most scenic beaches, an authentic country manor as your accommodation, incredible glass-fronted marquee views all day, and a team of experts who want to help you plan every step of the way. Sounds too good to be true? Not at Drumhalla House in Rathmullen. It really has to be seen to be believed. Visit drumhallahouse.ie or check out Drumhalla House on Instagram for more details.
All I want is my favourite bowl, Flavin's porridge to warm the soul. Such a creamy spoonful, oh, wouldn't it be lovely? Creamy porridge is what I'd like. That and a baby that sleeps at night. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely? Lovely, doubly, lovely. Only Flavin's double bake their oats for creamier porridge.
Now, Donegal County Council has been called on to intervene in Educate Support Centre being relocated. Members of the Municipal District of Donegal have asked the County Council to intervene in an effort to reverse this decision. It's moving the Donegal Education Support Centre to Letterkenny from Donegal Town. The centre has operated in Donegal Town for almost 3 decades and provides support and training to teachers and SNAs at the main hub for outreach centres across the county and increasingly, as you can imagine, online. A couple of voices to hear in relation to this. First, Manus Brennan, who's a former chair of the Management Committee of the Donegal Education Centre and one of those who was originally responsible for getting the centre located in Donegal Town. Manus, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, so is it the relocation itself or the manner in which the decision was made that you take greater issue with?
Well, I'll be quite honest with you. I only seen a couple of weeks ago on Facebook that it was proposed to move the centre. It was actually decided to move the centre. And I was absolutely shocked to hear it. I haven't been involved in it in my earlier years as a teacher. I'm retired now, thankfully. And living still in Donegal Town, well aware of the immense benefit that the centre brings to Donegal Town, the jobs it provides to the staff, teachers from all over Donegal, SNAs, education support staff from all over Ireland, even from all over the world, come to Donegal Town on a regular basis, and it provides great business for the town. And it also in my experience of hundreds and hundreds of teachers coming from all over Donegal and everywhere else, they love coming to Donegal town. The centre's located right in the middle of the town. They can go for a coffee, they can stay in the local hotels. Everything is very, very convenient, and I'm absolutely amazed at this decision that this is happening, you know.
Is there an argument that it might be more beneficial as a whole in a more central location in the county, i.e. Letterkenny?
Well, if there is, I would love to hear it. I mean, I haven't heard any of the management committee of the centre say why they made this after 27 years, what Donegal Town has done wrong or what Donegal Town is not suitable for. So I don't know what their argument is for moving the centre from Donegal. I can't imagine, even from my own experience of going to Letterkenny, it's clogged up. It's got lots of facilities. It's got the university. It's got the VC. I don't understand why Letterkenny has to have everything in the county and all the smaller towns. And that's one of the reasons why we fought very hard to bring it to Donegal Town.
Well, this is an observation, but anyone travelling to it, regardless of what direction are, if you're starting 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, you are going to see some traffic. I'll tell you that for nothing. Just, you mentioned the management committee there. They say, they've just informed me actually, that they are going to release a statement later in this week and are going to come on this show actually to talk about it. So we'll be able to answer some questions at that point. I'm sure there are some members that feel that maybe the question should have been answered to them directly, i.e. That all of those affected should have had a say in this. Would you feel, Manus, rather than it being a board decision?
Well, I mean, I've no doubt about that. Education centres are very unique bodies. They were set up under the Education Act of 1998. There's one in every county. There's a few in Dublin. I think there's at least 2 in Dublin. And they're different than every other in that they're run by the teachers in that county. Every teacher in the county, first and second level. I'm not 100% sure in relation to SNAs now, but every teacher is entitled to attend the annual general meeting. Every teacher is entitled to be on the management committee, is entitled to elect that management committee. So all major decisions in my time, and I'm sure it's still the same in most places since by constitution, as far as I can remember, all major decisions would have to go to an annual general meeting. It would have to be made at an annual or an EGM, and that this decision has been made by the management committee on their own. That is from what I hear, and I welcome the fact that they're going to come on your radio and explain their decision. But I can't imagine that they could make that decision without reference to all of their members. It's just improper. It's not right.
Okay, Manus, thanks for your time. Manus Brennan, former chair of the Management Committee of Donegal Education Centre. Eugene Mulligan is principal of Neil Moore National School in Killybegs, and he's with us now. Again, a lack of consultation seems to be a key issue or a concern for you in this decision, Eugene.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. Yeah. Firstly, thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to come on here this morning just to highlight this and the plans for the Donegal Education Centre, because we only found out about 10 days ago ourselves through the media that plans were in place to relocate the Education Centre from Donegal Town, where it's been, as Manus said, there for the last 27 years. Initially, I thought maybe that I'd missed something maybe with the consultation process, but over the days, as I've spoken to different teachers and principals, we realised there's been no consultation with teachers. There was a questionnaire sent out almost a year ago from the centre, but at no stage did we realise that was a consultation process for relocating the centre from its current location in Donegal Town.
Eugene, for those outside of the network, so to speak, what are the implications for what are your concerns, or what are the implications with this facility moving from Donegal Town to the mountaintop in Letterkenny?
Yeah, well, I mean, Manus has outlined a number of them there already. The other, I suppose, the big factor for us really is that the total lack of engagement with the stakeholders. You know, as Manus says, there should have been, an AGM or a special meeting to discuss this matter before, a decision was made to relocate the centre. So really we're calling for them to more consultation with teachers, listen to our opinions, also maybe give them an opportunity to explain their rationale why they're thinking of moving to Letterkenny, because Manus said, getting in out of Letterkenny, I mean, you're talking about bringing a centre into Letterkenny. There's traffic congestion issues already going to Letterkenny, so you're expecting to run courses in Letterkenny and take teachers from all around the county into one centralised location, which, I mean, it makes much more sense to bring it to somewhere like Donegal Town, which is more accessible.
I say with this absolute respect. Obviously, Eugene, you're speaking to me from Killybegs, which is close to Donegal Town. And listen, I'm from in and around Donegal Town, so the more services and business and footfall down there, the better from my perspective, just to put my cards on the table for all that matters. But if you are, in different parts of Donegal, it can be quite a run to Donegal Town. So as I say, whilst obviously we want to retain stuff in the south of the county and it's convenient for schools in the south of the county, we can perhaps also understand that maybe for a lot of people listening to us in other parts of Donegal where Letterkenny is closer, albeit with congestion, that this is a better location as a whole. Could you see that argument, Eugene? Is there any merit to that argument?
Well, I suppose the centre itself has evolved over the years. It's more an administration centre now because a lot of the courses are now, as well as having courses in Donegal Town and the centre itself, they also provide courses in different towns. And a lot of stuff is located in Letterkenny. They would hire out hotels and things like that. So the teachers from the north of the county and the Nicotine area do not have to travel to Donegal Town for all courses. So that facility, they still have capacity to do that in Letterkenny and in surrounding towns and even in West Donegal. So, I mean, that argument doesn't really stack up. And over 90% of the courses now are available online as far as I know as well. So, I mean, things have changed and evolved over the years in that regard.
All right, brilliant, Eugene. Thanks so much for your input and your time in relation to that. I also want to say hello to Alison Pasquet, who is a teacher, or in fact a teaching principal at Glebe National School in Donegal Town. Alison, your reaction to this news?
Well, good morning, Greg, and thanks for inviting me onto your show. Before I begin, I'd like to say a big hello to all of the staff and the pupils in my school that are listening in this morning. And not only in my school, but I'd like to say a big thank you to all of the teachers, principals, SNAs that have come in support of me and what I'm doing here today. I was aware, of the talk of the move for Donegal Education Centre to Letterkenny, but I hadn't realised it was a done deal until the announcement was made on Donegal Daily online. And I was concerned about that and really quite annoyed about that. And I had emailed to, I'd come into school on Monday morning and I registered to attend the AGM that was meant to be held in the Education Centre last Monday, and emailed to Kieran McTaggart a few questions that I had in relation to the move. I got an email back to say that the AGM had actually been postponed, and Kieran himself responded at a later date to say that thank you for the email. Here is a link to the reasons as to why the Education Centre is being moved. Now, the link obviously didn't answer the questions that I had.
Article, wasn't it? It was just a statement. So
yes, it was just a press release.
Sorry, go ahead, Alison.
No, I was just going to say then I emailed again to Kieran questions that I had and said that, if I didn't have a response from him, I would be actually attending training in the Education Centre on Thursday, which was last Thursday. So I went to the Education Centre with a hope to meet with Kieran to discuss, my concerns and in the hope that he would be there to answer my questions. And when I went into the office, he was not there, but I met with the staff who are devastated and have been treated appallingly. Now, I myself worked with the Education Centre. I worked as an associate with the National Induction Programme, so I know the staff personally and I know the work that they do. And they go over and above to provide services not only to southwest of Donegal, but to all of the teachers, all of the SNAs, all of the principals in the whole county. And to go into the Education Centre to see how devastated they are and how unfair they're being treated, I just couldn't stand back and do nothing. So I came up after school and I phoned Michael Naughton and other local councillors, TDs. I got in touch with them And I went home that evening and thought, I really need to do something about this. So I set up a group, Save Donegal Education Centre group, to see, how many people felt as strongly as I did. And currently I have over 260 members in my group. And I still had no correspondence with the director, so I had emailed to the chairperson and the members of the committee with a number of questions that I had. And on Friday afternoon, I received a reply from Martin Gallagher, who is the chairperson of the committee, and addressing my concerns. But actually, the answers that he gave and the reasons that he gave actually didn't answer my questions, but what they did was that they raised further questions and around how the staff, were involved with the decision, and the staff have not been involved with the decision.
Can I ask Alison
and
what you believe, if the majority of lessons are online, so the argument about a central location for all teachers around the county certainly doesn't wash with you. What do you believe the motivation for this change is then? Have you considered that? What do you think? Why do you think this decision has been taken?
Well, it's very baffling, really. But if you were to look at the education centre and you look at the director, who is actually from Letterkenny himself, and if you look at the committee members, bar two, are all from Letterkenny and from north of the county. So I just wonder, obviously they feel the move is beneficial for them, and they feel they're representing the teachers, in Letterkenny and north of the county. Yeah. But they fail to think of the rest of us, and really, I'm not on the radio
so just
to
be
make
clear,
an
Alison,
argument about
I just
us against them.
I understand, but what you're saying is there of the view, because where they're located, that it's better for all teachers if it was moved forward.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, but not necessarily themselves individually. Just to be clear in relation to that. So, but go ahead. What were you about to say, Alison? There.
I'm not on the radio to make, any fight the teachers here versus the teachers there. That's not what I'm about here. I just want open, transparent communication with the education centre and all of the teachers.
But you also have to understand, Alison, I'm not trying to agitate either, but as an outsider, I'm just I'm trying to ascertain if this is better for teachers in Buncrana, in Fanad, in Creasla, as well as Donegal Town and Killybeate. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Of course. I hear that. I heard Eugene saying, of course, that there were many centres, outreach centres in Donegal, and there are, in Letterkenny, Dunlow, all throughout the county, and there's more and more coming on every few months, so the teachers all over the county are well looked after, and a lot of the courses are online, so I don't really feel, you have plenty of choice. You can go local, you can come to Donegal, you can go online. Now, one of the concerns that was brought to my attention was that the teachers, travelling to Donegal Town from North Donegal, when they're coming through the gap there can be treacherous conditions. Now, teachers perhaps attend courses maybe 2 or 3 times in the year, so it's okay. They're saying that's treacherous and dangerous for the teachers to come through.
Here. Unless they
they're expecting the staff to go through every day.
Yeah, but that's nonsense, because unless they put one of these centres at the front door of every teacher that has to travel to it, someone's going to have to travel in treacherous conditions. I don't buy that. The Gap is the most treated road in the county. It's the safest, arguably one of the safest road in the county, because it's the first to get the grit. But Alison, I'll give them
not cancel the course.
Yeah, well, I'll give the management a heads up, because there's two questions, key questions that I'll be asking. One is clearly, what's the advantage of it being in Letterkenny rather than Donegal Town? In other words, why upset the status quo? There must be a very good reason. And secondly, is it the norm not to have consultation, and why was consultation not had with the people that this affects? Because they're two critical questions, and I don't mind giving them a couple of days' notice to answer it, because there'll have to be good answers, I'd imagine, unless I'm missing something in this conversation.
Well, a lot of questions were raised, or a lot of statements were said about, the current location isn't really fit for the needs of the education centre. The rent had increased and the services had increased, and there were problems with the building. And I contacted the landlord myself directly, with the charges that were made against the land himself, and actually he refutes every one of those.
Well, I know the person you're talking of, so we might actually contact him I'm not questioning you for a second, Alison, but just actually it's quite an interesting point.
I just want to raise that a point.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not going into it obviously, but I just wanted to raise that, and I would like to ask also the new venue that is proposed, how does the rent for the new venue compare to the current rent, and is it fixed or will it be increasing every year? What's the cost for the refurbishment? And what about the car parking at the new facility? Is that just for the education centre, or is that for, are the other businesses using?
Well, they've
the
extended.
centre,
They're literally quite literally extending the car parking up here as we speak. So that'll be the answer to that. I know. No, I don't want to be pitching different groups against each other, but I'll read this comment to you. The decision was made by a management team who are teachers. The teachers are being treated as second-class citizens here. Staff are being asked to do a 70-mile round trip. If teachers were asked to move 35 miles, how would they feel? The management should examine their conscience in relation to that. So I presume that's someone advocating on behalf of the staff that currently are living, potentially living, but certainly working in Donegal town at the moment. They are going to have to.
Yes, they all live local. They are all local to Donegal, and they're expected to make the 100-kilometre round trip to Mountain Top every day. Now they are very obviously distressed and upset.
It's a tight drive.
And not only the
but when you have to go through the twin towns,
how they've been treated in the consultation and how they're currently being treated.
All right, Alison, listen, a big hi to all the staff and pupils at the Glebe National School, if they are indeed listening in to you. You did well. Thank you very much, Alison. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on this morning.
Bye-bye, Alison. So that's Alison Pasquet there, who's a teacher or the teaching principal at Glebe National School in Donegal Town. That's three opposing voices to it. Others perhaps don't feel the same. We will bring them on as we get them. We'll have plenty of balance in the round, but those were three people keen to speak who are opposed to this decision. We're open to all of your comments on 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. Beth says on YouTube, well said, Alison. Another, the way management have treated the staff is shocking. All staff from Donegal town are now made to do a 100-kilometre round trip to the mountaintop in Letterkenny. That comes in from Aidan there. All right, back with the weather.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Are you building, rebuilding, or simply improving your home? Come along to Donegal's premier gathering of home building professionals in the Northwest. Donegal New Build and Rebuild 2025 will take place in the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny, February 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Admission is free to this 3-day event. This ad is sponsored by Efficient Renewables.
If you have PRSI, you can get free hearing devices at Specsavers. Now, we know what you're thinking. Oh, if they're free, they're bound to be those big old-fashioned ones that do this kind of thing, as well as this kind of thing. But actually, they just do this kind of thing. Amazing sound from a rechargeable piece of tech so small you can barely see it. All completely free. So book a free hearing check at Specsavers now, because OK Hearing is not OK. On hearing devices up to €1,000, terms and conditions apply. See our website for details.
Thinking of getting a new car in 2025? Why not get one in 2026 as well? Buy a selected 251 Nissan and we'll replace it with a 261 Nissan for free. For details about this and all our 251 offers, contact your local Nissan dealer or visit nissan.ie. Nissan. Defy ordinary. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you female, currently unemployed and looking for a new career in construction? Rural Enterprise SkillNet is delighted to announce the next Women in Construction programme commencing February 17th in Letterkenny. For more information or to apply, visit ruralenterpriseskillnet.ie. Closing date for applications is February 4th with interviews on February 6th.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Join us on March 8th for our special occasion preview with the sparkling afternoon tea in Harvey's Point. Tickets go on sale Friday 31st of January at 7 p.m. Available from michaelhennies.com.
So sunny spells and scattered showers for the rest of today. Highest temperatures of 5 to 7 degrees in a light southwest or variable breeze. And just to remind you that the Donegal Education Support Centre have said they'll be releasing a statement later in the week, and hopefully a member of the management committee will be able to come on the show and answer the questions. And as I say, we'll have a listening ear. There might be very strong, and I'm sure there are strong arguments from some as to why this decision was made, and they'll be aired and get equal airing as the voices that are opposed as well. Okay, we are heading towards the news at 11. That last item ran over slightly, so I have one more ad break to squeeze in. Stay tuned. News headlines just around the corner.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Luxury is not merely seen or heard or even touched. True luxury is experienced. It lies in the minute details that elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's quiet spoken, but leaves a lasting impression. You know it when you feel it. Luxury begins with L. Lexus. Experience amazing. Discover the all-electrified range at Lexus Letterkenny.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
The Hillary's big winter sale just got even better with an extra 10% off absolutely everything. That's on top of up to half price on hundreds of made-to-measure blinds, curtains and shutters. And right now, get free thermal lining on our favourite Roman blinds and curtains to help keep your home extra warm and cosy this winter. Our expert advisors ensure a perfect fit with measuring and fitting always included. Visit hillarys.ie to book your free in-home appointment today. But be quick, extra 10% off everything ends 3rd of February. Conditions apply.
New year, new gear. Don't miss the winter sale at Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure. There's up to 50% off with great savings on runners and leisure wear, in store and online. There's also free next day delivery on orders over €85. That's the winter sale now on at michaelmurphysports.ie.
There's Monster Bingo this and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel Milford. €3,250 must go. Doors open at 7:30 p.m. Bingo starts at 8:30. That's Monster Bingo this and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel Milford.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, still another hour of the 9 till noon show on the way, but at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Garda have issued an appeal for information following a serious assault in Lifford between 10 and 11 yesterday morning. A man in his 20s was assaulted by a group of men. Another man was less seriously injured. Charles Dooher, who was in his 20s, was airlifted to the Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast for treatment for serious injuries following the incident at the house in Connyborough Road. A man in his 60s was less seriously injured and transported to Letterkenny University Hospital. Garda are urging anyone that was in the Connyborough Road area of Lifford between 10 and 11 yesterday to come forward. A car was substantially damaged in Letterkenny after an unknown substance was poured over it in broad daylight. Garda have described the incident as unsavoury. It happened at the Orchard Crescent area of Letterkenny on Thursday last between approximately 20 past and 25 past 10 in the morning. The man responsible was dressed in black and wore a balaclava. Garda and Milford are appealing for information after 5 sheep were stolen in the vicinity of Rosskirk, Port Salon. 4 black and white Dutch spotted sheep and 1 yellow painted Suffolk were taken from a field between 3 on Tuesday afternoon and 11 on Thursday morning. Garda are particularly anxious to speak to anyone who saw any suspicious activity or unknown vehicles with trailers in the area. Opposition parties are ramping up their attempts to stop some independent TDs getting speaking rights in the Dáil. It's after the Ceann Comhairle said that independents who are supporting the incoming government can have opposition speaking time. Sinn Féin, the Social Democrats, Labour and People Before Profit are issuing a joint submission today challenging this. There's been much focus on the fact that Aontú is part of the same technical group as the regional independents, with calls on them to leave as they are facilitating the current situation. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin says there are other options for them, but Aontú's leader Peadar Tóibín says it's not that simple. And a sum of cash has been stolen during a break-in at Manorview Park in Letterkenny. Gardaí say entry was gained to an apartment between 7:30 and 2:30 on yesterday. They're urging anyone who may have observed any suspicious activity to make contact with them. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 o'clock.
OK, Donald, thanks very much. Back with more after a short break.
This is Dr. Colin Henry, Chief Clinical Officer for the HSE. Right now, flu is circulating widely in our communities. Flu can cause severe illness for many people. That's why a flu vaccine and COVID-19 vaccine is recommended for you if you're 60 or over, a healthcare worker, if you're pregnant or have a long-term health condition. It's not too late to get vaccinated to help protect you and the people around you. To check which vaccines are recommended for you, visit hse.ie or talk to a participating GP or pharmacist today. Thank you from the HSE.
Hi, Greg. I was thinking Ovengate was a half-baked idea all along. Thanks very much for that. Another caller says, when America sneezes, Ireland catches the cold. Now that it will be official USA government policy to recognise only two genders, will LGBT plus activists please now let our children be children and stop their constant barrage of propaganda specifically aimed at children? Some would say that that's not necessarily happening, but I take your views on that, of course. Right, more comments on the way, but I want to go to Keelan now, who is Special Rapporteur on Child Protection. Keelan Gallagher, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
We're talking about the use of restraints in schools. This is ahead of new guidelines coming into force in September. And I kind of heard this story, and I wanted to sort of ask a little bit more about what we're talking about. So, is this actual physical restraint, and how often is it used, and in what circumstances, Keelan, do we know?
Yeah, so it's two different things. The first is called seclusion, which sounds like a very Victorian, gentle term, but really means essentially children being locked in rooms on their own. And that's been happening for quite a long time, particularly to disabled children and children who are neurodivergent. So what used to be called challenging behaviour, kids who were behaving in a way which was outside the norm would sometimes find themselves being locked in a room away from their peers. And I met parents yesterday who've had experience of their children being locked in very small rooms in real distress, for periods of 5 hours, for example, on occasion. And some occasions the children have self-harmed when in there, have broken lights, used glass to cut themselves, have banged their heads on the walls. So that's seclusion. And then the other kind of conduct.
So just before you move on, before you move on, seclusion is being banned outright in September. So no one's taking any issue. No, the majority of people aren't taking issue with that. They're welcoming that, I presume.
Yeah, it's very welcome that now, in these new guidelines published just before Christmas, the Department of Education has made clear that seclusion should never be used for children.
Okay.
Now, that's something which, of course, should have happened much earlier, but it's a very welcome principle that they've established now. One of the concerns, however, which some teachers and principals are raising in particular, is the grey area, because the guidelines refer to some time-outs being acceptable, and principals and teachers who I've spoken to have said, well, we need more clarity there, because actually, yeah, exactly. And the worry is that in that grey area, you'll end up having some of the same kind of conduct continuing.
Well, is that a 3 hour? Is a time out 3 hours being locked in a room on your own?
Well, you would think not.
Yeah,
but what principals and teachers are asking for, and parents and children, is that the guidelines are just firmed up on that to make it clear that this kind of treatment of children is completely unacceptable.
Well, what replaces seclusion then, before we move on? Because, I mean, obviously there are instances where children's behaviour, for right or wrong, led to them being secluded. So, I mean, there has to be something replacing it, presumably. Is there a protocol or guidelines or what?
So the guidelines, the long document that's come out, one of the concerns that's been raised just is that it isn't sufficient to actually give clear and comprehensive guidance. And really what we need is much better training in this space. And what you find from some of the schools which have really good practice, best practice in this field, who put a lot of resources and time themselves into getting training, is actually when you use de-escalation techniques and you focus on supporting the child, you can avoid these incidents happening in the first place.
Yeah.
So, we heard yesterday with As I Am and Inclusion Ireland from the management of a school who put a huge amount of time and resource into this, including spending about €20,000 in order to get better training for their staff. And they say since they've been doing that, these incidents have stopped because they've started working out actually that quite often what you're dealing with when you have a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old or an 11-year-old acting out or displaying what used to be called challenging behaviour, quite often it's a child who's in distress.
Mm-hmm.
It may be a symptom of their disability or their neurodivergence.
Okay.
And actually, once you start to understand that better and you apply good de-escalation techniques, you can stop that happening. So that's really key.
So,
But
I mean, the obvious thing in that situation then would be the Department of Education to find out what the best practice is in Irish schools. As you say, we often see this. Some schools do very well in certain areas, like bullying or stopping kids vaping or smoking or whatever it might be. So find out the schools that are doing it well and are generally accepted to be doing so, and use that to formulate, a model and funding to roll it out across all schools. That's the logical step forward, surely.
Exactly right. And what we can't have is what we know happens at the moment, which is basically an air code lottery, where if you happen to be in one of the schools that displays best practice, like the brilliant team who I was talking to yesterday, your child gets all of this support, but otherwise you don't. It's coming very much at the moment from the grassroots up, from the schools up. And really what we need to see is standard setting at national level from the Department of Education down.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw schools that do it really well to have, teachers or senior management who maybe have neurodivergent children or an understanding of it. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
It's really interesting you say that, because actually one of the principals who I've spoken to in the past couple of days about this exact issue, that is her experience. She has a neurodivergent child herself.
You see,
so she's got this acute awareness of it.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. So in terms of physical restraint as well, again, what examples? What does this look like now, and what is going to change in September?
Yeah, and look, I emphasise that in relation to restraint, of course, the vast majority of teachers and teaching staff are committed to ensuring that children have access to education and are treated well in the school environment. But this is a sizable minority of children have experienced this. So we know from a survey that was done by As I Am and Inclusion Ireland that about a third of children with disabilities and neurodivergent children have experienced some form of restraint. So they're very recent statistics and worrying statistics. And it includes a range of things. So there are some very extreme, alarming examples of children, for example, being dragged across floors, or on some occasions, children being physically restrained and held down in a prone position on the floor. Now, that is extremely, extremely dangerous. We know from a study in Cornell University in the US in 2021 that in the US there have been deaths of multiple children from that kind of restraint in school settings in the US. And we also know from work that's been done in Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland that similarly there's been very long-term trauma and physical injury to children from this kind of restraint.
Well, I wouldn't know what to do in that situation. Keelan, I wouldn't know what to do in this situation with someone else's children. And thankfully I've never had to do it with my own. But are teachers trained as to what restraint is, what appropriate restraint is, what can be, what's acceptable in what scenarios, if at all? Do you know what I mean? Like, are teachers, because I wouldn't like to be in this situation, are teachers at least trained to know currently what the right and wrong thing to do is?
So we're back to this issue about the importance of adequate training and the air code lottery. So the short answer is some yes, some no.
Okay, well, that's unacceptable, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The department in the guidelines that were published just before Christmas did say that they wanted this to be part of a comprehensive toolkit. And that's what we really want to see. We want to see that principle being played out in practice. I should say, I've given you some extreme examples of physical abuse of children. But one of the other things that we also know happens is quite often physical restraint used really as a minimum hassle kind of measure. So I'll give you some examples. Ambulant children being strapped in to wheelchairs, for example. So Inclusion Ireland did a report a number of years ago, and they had 14 case studies in it. And one of them was just an ambulant child who had seizures on occasion. And a decision was taken by the school that when they went out on school trips, he would be strapped into a wheelchair with a lap strap and essentially like foot cuffs round his feet. And it was simply for ease rather than anything else. And of course, that's very restrictive, has a long-term psychological and physical impact on the child, and is not good enough. So it's not only this emergency situation. My key concern is that it's been the principle for a very, very long time as a matter of law that you should only use physical restraint in an emergency situation and when it's an absolute last resort.
But Kate, how are we tracking this? Though, how are we tracking this? So,
well,
if there an so if there
it's
is
a really
an instance,
good question.
If there's an instance of this, does anyone have to be notified, or are we just finding this out by studies from Inclusion Ireland and As I Am in an ad hoc sort of a way? I mean, do we have a database of instances where children had to be secluded or restrained, the reason why and the manner of restraint? I mean, that's basic stuff here.
It is basic stuff, and it's such a good question because, of course, when this happens in other settings, like when a child is in a prison environment or when a child is in a residential centre, there's a significant oversight and regulatory regime in place where you record all of these instances, or with an adult. You know, if an adult is physically restrained in a prison, for example, or in a Garda station or in a mental health environment, you've got to document it, you've got to report it and so on. And there's a total blind spot when it comes to this happening in schools. So at the moment, there is no reporting obligation. There is in September 2025 going to be, under the Department of Education's plans, a new requirement, well, not a requirement, a new, what the guidelines say is the guidelines suggest that it can be reported to the National Council for Special Education. But one of the real concerns which I have, it's shared by the Ombudsman for Children, by As I Am, Inclusion Ireland, and by many parents whose children have experienced restraint. The concern is that that's not the right fit, because the National Council for Special Education doesn't have any investigative powers, and the report which goes to them is just going to be general, not about the individual case. So they'll be able to put together a broad picture of numbers of times when restraint was used across the country. But what they can't do is deal with, for example, if you have a repeat offender, so a teacher who's violent to children and to multiple children, or a teacher who is violent to a child on a cumulative basis repeatedly, they don't have any way of monitoring that. No, there's no system to flag
that. That's. I mean, listen. I think everybody involved in this and everyone listening here's interest has the child's interest at heart. We have an opportunity, seemingly, with changes in September. Is it a fait accompli? Is part of this conversation to try and say, look, we are making progress, I'd imagine, in certain areas. Let's get this right whilst we are changing it.
Yeah, and so really, there's been a very long history to these guidelines. They were first called for by the National Council for Special Education way back in 2012, and a group of parents in Inclusion Ireland have been pushing very hard for them since 2018. So it's obviously a good thing that there are going to be guidelines where previously there were none. That's a positive. It's a step in the right direction. And the department has made clear that they see this as a conversation and they're open to change. So we think between now and September, what we've got to do is strengthen it up. We've got to get rid of the grey areas, which are going to cause problems for children and parents and families, but also are going to cause problems for teachers and teaching staff. And critically, we've got to have a much better oversight and regulatory mechanism. Seems astonishing to me that a child who is detained for criminal behaviour has more protection than a child in school who's neurodivergent or disabled when it comes to restraint.
I mean, if it's not the case now, I hope it is post-September. I just hope there's a situation where if there is an incident and it's logged and a parent has concerns or questioning the behaviour or if there's a pattern of behaviour, that we are putting in place a system that parent feels heard, that guardian hears heard, and they can advocate for what's best for their child. But what I'm hearing at the moment, it doesn't sound like we're going as far as that.
No, that's right. And it's a real concern. I've spoken to many parents and families in the last few days, who are very, very concerned about this, because what the fallback proposal now is that when you can use the same mechanisms that are already in place. So you can use local complaint mechanisms, you can complain to the school, or the school can refer the matter to TUSLA,
but we know with bullying that can be problematic, and that's arguably serious,
exactly.
but it's more simple, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And we know as well that was what was already happening. So that phrase, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Well, I would say this is a case of if it is broke, why not fix it? Because we know that reliance on local complaint mechanisms and reliance on the school reporting to TUSLA doesn't work well, because that's what we've had before. And that's what's led to all these multiple horrendous examples that we've been hearing, the heartbreaking examples that are set out, which have led to the need for the guidelines.
Would it be helpful if the NCSC was given investigative powers or disciplinary powers? Would that be a easier, not an easier solution, but a step in the right direction?
Well, I'm not sure that that's the right course of action, because the NCSE, we know, is very overloaded and has got capacity concerns at the moment. And they're obviously focused on special education. And of course, restraint could now be used, or seclusion unlawfully could be used against all children, not just children with SEN.
Yeah, I get
and there are other mechanisms, like, for example, the inspectorate, that could be a better fit for that. The main concern really I just wanted to flag, is what many parents have said to me is that they have been terrified about complaining to the school, because quite often, particularly if the problematic conduct by staff is coming at a high level, they're very worried about their child potentially being retaliated against or making matters worse. And what they are all calling for is an independent mechanism. That's what they want.
And if
robust mechanism.
If their life is made difficult, they're also, the extra concern is finding an alternative school in their area that will take their student as well, because people talk to each other.
Exactly.
All right, Keelan, interesting stuff. We'll definitely return to this. I do appreciate you spelling that out in such clear terms. I have a much greater understanding of it now. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Keelan Gallagher, Special Rapporteur on Child Protection. And it's not just important that I have a better understanding, because I think I'm really quite normal. And sometimes, we hear a short news piece, or read a short news piece and don't necessarily get a full grasp of what we're talking about. That being said, there are many of you messaging in relation to this who have experience of it or concerns about it. Very interested in hearing more of your comments. So please, even if you've never texted us before, get your phone out. It's completely confidential, and text or WhatsApp us if you've an experience with that. Maybe it's a concern you have with your child or something in the past. I would really love to get a greater understanding of the local ramifications of this. You can also give us a call as well, again in strict confidence, 07491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Do you live in Donegal? Fancy upskilling without breaking the bank? Big Red Cloud, in collaboration with KW and Donegal Education and Training Boards, is offering a series of free, training programs in bookkeeping and payroll. All courses are available online with flexible learning schedules at times that suit you. Big Red Cloud enables learners with no prior knowledge to upskill in payroll and accounts. Sign up today at bigredcloud.com/training. Free, certified and completed at your own pace. Brought to you by Donegal ETB.
If you have a cough, flu, sore throat, or you're just feeling miserable, don't suffer through it. At McGee's Chemist, they have the expertise to help you feel better. Their experienced pharmacists will recommend the most effective over-the-counter solutions and give expert advice on managing your symptoms. McGee's have a wide range of trusted brands and quality products to help you recover. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years' experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no-obligation quotation on 913233.
Octavia, Fabia, Scala, Superb, Kamik, Karoq, Enyaq, Kodiak, petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid, electric, HVO. So much choice, but not that much time. Whatever 251 Skoda you choose, you should order it now, because even though we have a wide range, they're selling fast. See what stock is left at skoda.ie and order yours today.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
It's 22 minutes past 11. Callers say often children are locked in rooms to calm them down, and it's just not right. There has to be other ways. There are no mandatory training guidelines. Again, this is kind of rather naively, because when I was at school, we were, if we were misbehaving, maybe sent down to baby infants or something. You know, I've never, though I did leave school early, but I've never had it come back from my own children either about students being locked on their own. Isolation, says another, is used a lot for children, and I'd love to see that stopped. Apparently after September it is. Many teachers do not have clarity on what restraints are. Many of the children are restrained in manners which are unacceptable. This is not just for special needs children, it's for all children. Another caller says, delighted to hear this. We need an independent route for parents with concerns who have nowhere to go at the minute. As a parent of a special needs child, I think it's still not strong enough and it really needs to go further. Thank you so much for your comment. And another, the NCSE is supportive to schools, but discipline is not within their remit. Parents are often left out in the cold. A few comments from parents there too, that they feel that they're not necessarily involved or have access to the knowledge that they want. Again, very keen to hear more from you out there, if you don't mind. Okay, we were talking about speaking Irish in schools and a huge increase over the course of the last 2 decades in exemptions. David's with me now. Hi, David.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Early 40s, just outside Letterkenny. Didn't learn Irish properly in school. Your reflections?
Yeah, kind of being a teenager, being in St. John's College, kind of acted up a little bit. Didn't pay attention and kind of regretted it since. Now out of everything, every other subject.
It's a familiar story, David. It's a familiar story.
Oh, yeah. Listen, everyone's going to know that. Like, yeah. But no, it's the only subject I really do genuinely regret not paying attention to.
To the point whereby, would you like to learn Irish now? Or do you feel the boat sailed?
Absolutely, 100%. Listen, if there was anywhere that I could go. Now, bearing in mind, I'm in full-time employment, so, you know, I'm busy 9 to 5 days of the week. But absolutely, I would love to be able to go somewhere and do it.
Well, Líonra Letterkenny is there for you. Letterkenny, it's there. It's on your back door. I think they do evening stuff as well, David. I have a number here. I'll get one of the team to ring you back with it. I'd like to hear how you get on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what I've been doing is I have obviously got a lot of friends and some family members from Gaeltacht areas that are fluent in Irish. I started watching a couple of shows on TG4, like for example that show Crab based in Peadar and Falkera, with the subtitles on. You pick up a little bit there, but I would just, I'd like to have a little bit more, but.
Right. Well, we'll get this number to you, and I'm just curious as to why is it important to you now at this stage to learn to speak it more? Is it because you have people around you that speak Irish and you think, you know what, or is it a pride in your heritage and your culture, or can you put your finger on it, David?
To be honest, not really, but I think what you're saying there is probably the biggest thing of it. It's the fact that it's proper, genuine Irish, obviously even in the language, but in the culture. To be able to speak Irish, I did a bit of work in England there for a year or so, and everyone's like, "Oh, can you speak Irish?" And you're kind of standing there, and you're like, "Not really," and you kind of do feel a little bit clumsy. And
well, if it was an English person, I'd just say yes.
I understand, yeah, but you really only fooling yourself there, though, aren't you?
I'm only messing. It's yourself you'd be lying to, isn't it? Not just them. Right, David. Well, listen, we'll get this number to you. We know we interview them regularly. We know how passionate they are about bringing people through and learning Irish, and it's close to you. And hopefully, it's not during the day stuff. You're not going back to school, but they've got loads of stuff. No pressure, obviously, because life's busy. But we'll get this number to you, David. And if down the line you can remember, if it works out for you, to let us know how you're getting on. We'd love to do so. All right, David. Good man. Thanks so very much for that. David's is a very familiar tale, and one I share myself. A caller says, now we're back to two genders, male and female. Will Enoch Burke expect to receive a pardon from the Irish state anytime soon? That comes in from Jim there. Peadar Tóibín has won that row with Sinn Féin, hands down. Greg, you're basing your opinions on what you are reading in the papers. Seriously, who really believes what's in the papers anymore? That came in a wee while. Could you just send me another text in just to tell me what you're referencing there? Because I'd be very interested, because I don't read newspapers. So I source my news from lots of different places. So I don't read news articles as such. In fact, I couldn't tell you the last time I read a news article. So I don't know precisely what you're on about. I'm not being defensive. Very keen to hear, because I'm curious as to what you think I'm basing my opinion on, if that makes sense. Not to be argumentative, just for the crack. I fully understand why these people are not in government. They can't even agree with each other in opposition. God help us. A couple of people are saying that. That's... I mean, there's obviously politics going on here too, because, I mean, Aontú obviously would have preferred to have increased their popularity more quickly than they have. But Peadar Tóibín's held in high regard. Sinn Féin are in opposition. They want to make sure that they are the lead opposition party. So they're always going to have a little tete-a-tete as well. Just because they're all in opposition doesn't mean they must agree. Sadly, now I see hypocrisy of Aontú, says a listener, who I gave a number 1 in the last election. Supporting the puppet master Larry is sick, as is government decisions to be controlled by puppet master Larry. Good morning, Greg. I totally agree with you regarding those supposed independents who are part of government yet want speaking time as part of the opposition. Typical cute heurism of our politicians. But then we are like turkeys voting for Christmas and putting these smart Alex into the doll. Right, I'm going to take a very quick break, so I want to be conscious to stay up to date on my breaks. It's part and parcel of it all. We are going to be speaking to Paul Crone, Director of the National Association of Principals and Deputy Principals, in just 2 minutes.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Let's stay in and watch a film. Don't forget to switch the lights off. Will you pop the kettle on? It's freezing.
Switching things on and off this winter and searching for ways to save? Here's a switch that can really help. Sign up to one of our great value smart meter plans and save up to 30%. Visit electricireland.ie. EAB €1,293 based on 12-month Home Electric Plus Saver 30 electricity. Discounted unit rates with online billing, direct debit and VAT. Smart meter required. Subject to change. T's and C's apply.
Need rapid care for a minor injury or fracture? Why wait when you can be seen today at Kingsbridge Northwest Minor Injuries and Fracture Clinic? See a GP with A&E experience and avail of further scans and surgery with highly trained nurses, radiologists and orthopaedic surgeons on site. Available Monday through to Saturday in Ballykelly for Leia insured and self-paying patients. Visit kingsbridgegpclinic.com today for further information.
It's here, the mega January sale at House Proud Furniture. Time to grab a non-repeatable bargain with hundreds of sofas in stock and ready for immediate delivery, and up to 50% off in-store and online, including dining and bedroom furniture. The House Proud mega January sale is now on at Abercorn Square, Strabane and Great Northern Retail Park, Omagh.
If you need an eye test, look no further than Louis Walsh Opticians. Letterkenny's longest established opticians are delighted to welcome patients new and old to their state-of-the-art practice in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Their latest technology includes a 3D OCT retinal camera which assesses the health of your eyes in minutes. Private, medical card and PRSI patients welcome. Call 91 21000 to arrange your eye test.
Louis Walsh Opticians, Letterkenny. Your vision, our focus.
Looking for your dream car in Donegal? Look no further than Heron Auto, your go-to Kia and Opel main dealer. With a massive selection of over 70 quality used cars in stock, we've got the perfect vehicle waiting just for you. Call in to Heron Auto today and drive home in style with a car that fits your taste and budget. Heron Auto, Donegal Town, where your dream car becomes a reality.
Now, Paul Crone, Director of the National Association of Principals and Deputy Principals, joins us on the programme now. Paul, thanks for your time. I do appreciate it.
Good morning, Greg.
Right.
Delighted to be here.
We are talking about concerning use of nicotine pouches. Schools are seeing more and more of this. So for those who aren't aware, what are we talking about?
We're talking about very small, kind of clear teabag style pouches that contain pure nicotine. From a school's perspective, we were delighted with ourselves a number of years ago. We felt that we had tackled smoking. The number of teenagers who were smoking were reducing dramatically. And then we noticed a huge increase in vaping and students that were vaping. And as schools started to tackle this and got very good higher levels of supervision and sanctions being applied on students who were vaping in schools, the incidence of these nicotine pouches have increased because they're a small little tea bag style pouch that students place between their gum and their upper lip. And what it does is it releases nicotine directly into the bloodstream. So they get that nicotine hit without having to vape and without having to smoke cigarettes. So it's kind of feeding that addiction. It comes in different strengths. The theory in it would be that it's designed to help people who smoke to wean off their addiction by going from stronger to weaker. But the reality is that many young people are using these instead of vaping and instead of smoking. And they do get a little bit of a high. Students would report that they feel it helps improve their concentration, it helps them to relax, it helps them to deal with the stress of exams and on day-to-day life. But the reality is schools are reporting an increase in students with anxiety, irritability, students who are having concentration difficulties. And our fear would be that they're a major contributing factor to students who will potentially underperform.
Yeah, and also it's just another way that and even perhaps a more direct and more addictive way of young people getting addicted to nicotine that never put a cigarette in their mouth potentially, which is crazy.
And that's the reality. Now, they're in a legislative loophole in this country in that all of our legislation refers to tobacco products, but there is no tobacco in this. So these are readily available for purchase in any local shop, in any garage, and there's no restriction on sale or use of these nicotine pouches. So that's why we're making a big deal of it at this stage, because it is a problem and it's about to get a bigger problem.
Yeah, well, we're being forewarned here. Something we didn't necessarily have an advantage of with other areas. Now, in terms of legislation, the legislation's been extended to include vapes. Now, I'm not sure vapes have any tobacco content in them. I'm open to correction on that. So presumably the legislation, without much tinkering, could be extended to include these nicotine pouches.
We would be hopeful of that, and with a new government coming in, we would be very much hoping that, like you said, with a small amount of tweaking, that it can comprehend these nicotine pouches as well as the vapes. But I mean, banning the sale of them to under 18s is, while very welcome and important, does have the added unintended consequences of pushing it into the black market. Yeah. From the point of view that if students have an addiction to nicotine, they will find a way to get access to feed.
It's incredibly addictive. So we also have to factor into and it's the same with vaping. We do actually also need plans in place to deal with a proportion of a generation that has an addiction to one of the most addictive substances on the planet.
And that's the worrying part of it, because it whatever the students feel in the short term, the longer term health impact on heart disease and all of that, and their concentration and irritability as they try to wean off it, and we can easily excuse and say, oh, they're teenagers, that's how they are. But it's not necessarily how they are. Our modern teenagers are very health conscious. They're concerned about the diet, they're concerned about the planet, they're concerned about exercise. So they don't see the long-term impact of these pouches.
But also, as well as Paul, in fairness, they're not being exposed to any information on the dangers of it either. The vape market is still very, very strong, and a lot of the conversation you hear is still based on it being much safer than smoking, albeit not without risk. So they're not really being, I don't think, given the proper information on the potential impacts of this. And another concern, Paul, people will have, like, we're presuming what's coming in these bags off the internet is nicotine. What else is in it? What is dissolving between their lip and their gum? We have no idea. It could be anything.
It could be anything, and the scary part is they're also putting in flavours into it. So that's obviously aimed at younger students. And these pouches are being made more popular by many professional sports stars and internet influencers who are promoting the use of them and saying that they use them, which of course then younger children will feel that if they're using it, it must be okay. They're a professional sports star. It's cool to use these. So that there's a whole element of the marketing of them. So what we're calling for really is that the Department of Health would issue a health advisory notice on them, and that will allow schools to open up conversations with parents and with students, potentially in the SPHE class when students are talking about substances such as alcohol, nicotine, other drugs, that they become aware of what the impact of them are. Parents are educated, and as you rightly say, people say, well, they could be worse, they could be smoking. But the reality is their brain is still developing, they're still young, damage is potentially being done. We don't know the long-term impacts of that at this stage. When I was growing up, everybody smoked in cars and all of that because we thought, sure, look, it'll do no one any harm. We know better now. Yeah. What we don't want to do is turn around in 20, 25 years and say, Jeannie Mac, we did nothing.
We have all the info. And you can just imagine, they're sitting in class, halfway through the class, the nicotine urges start, because if you take nicotine, the only thing it does is defer the want for nicotine again. So invariably it wears off, and they're sitting there getting irritable, lacking concentration in an educational environment. Even for teachers alone, if it's not for the pupils, we need to crack down on this. Paul, thanks for your time. Appreciate it greatly.
No problem.
All right, then. Thank you. Paul Crone, Director of the National Association of Principals and Deputy Principals. Have you found any little baggies around the house that maybe your younger people are using as they contain these are nicotine patches, and it's little bits that you put between your into your mouth. It dissolves and goes straight into the bloodstream. All right, another thing for us to worry about. Now, we mentioned this in the show before, but it's coming up very shortly, so I wanted to mention that a day this week, isn't it, the 28th of January, the first Dementia Awareness Training Day is taking place in Ballybofey. Yes, the 28th of January. It's open to anyone in Donegal to attend, and I'll tell you what it's about. I'll read the banner for you. Dementia is not simply a health issue, but a social issue that requires a community response. What is dementia inclusive community? Well, you'll find out. A dementia inclusive community is one in which people living with dementia and their families fully participate in society, and is one in which the people in the community are aware of and understand dementia. Really important. 63% of people with dementia currently live in the community, right? So get along to the event. You can book your place on the Dementia Awareness Induction Workshop, Tuesday the 28th of January, 11 a.m., 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. It's at the Alzheimer's House in Ballybofey. And you can email heather.cassidy@alzheimers.ie, as I say, to book your spot there. Righty-yo. Now, we are hearing concerns about changes to how men and women's sheds in Donegal receive funding. Sinn Féin has actually raised this issue through Brian Carr, and Brian Carr is with me now. So, Brian, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on, Greg. Thank you.
Okay, so what's changing that's led to an uncertainty about funding for these important, and I think anyone who's been at one of these sheds, or anyone who knows someone, maybe it's a hubby or a partner or a brother or sister, they know their importance and the benefits, right? So what's changing?
Well, over the last few years, the Minister for Rural and Community Development, Minister Humphreys, gave 1.2 million to the Irish Men's Sheds Association to allocate money to the 400 plus men's sheds in the country. And that gives sheds an opportunity to look for up to €3,000 each. That was the cap. But it was a sustainability grant that paid for their insurance, their heat, their light, or there's some maintenance to the sheds, minor works. And the last couple of years, 25 sheds in Donegal availed of this, which is €75,000 that came into the county. And the way that the sheds would do it, the sheds would keep the receipts like from the 1st of February 24 to the 1st of February 25. Then they would get the opportunity to put in the receipts that they had spent on the insurance and heat, and they could avail of up to 3,000, as I said, and there's very few other grants that does utilities like that. But this year's funding wasn't given to the men's sheds. It was given, or the Irish men's sheds, it was given to the county councils to be delivered through the local development companies, and it's to be delivered through a funding, the local enhancement program. And the problem with that, with the sheds, it's done differently, and the application is different. It's a more complex application, but it's delivered in 3 different ways. Up to €500 for utility, €500 to €1,000 for a small capital like equipment, or maybe you needed a new front door or something like that, and then 5,000 to 10,000 for larger capital, maybe for a new big machine or major maintenance to the sheds. Now, the sheds can apply for those through this LEP, but these categories of new machines and all this, they don't keep the doors open.
Yeah.
But the sustainability grant did keep the door open.
I get you. I can see on the face of it, it seems like more money. If there was major investments in a given year, but you're not going to be going back in every year applying under those headings, are you? But you are still going to be faced with the day-to-day running costs. So I can see why the sustainability grant was a better fit potentially than the local enhancement program. But if you looked at the raw figures, the LEP seems better. Right, so is there provision within the LEP to distribute the same amount of money, say, for instance, €75,000 under whatever criteria it might be, to give a little bit of certainty to the men's sheds?
Yeah, well, the LEP that came to Donegal last year was 219,000, and that 109 groups availed of that, which is fantastic. And this year, the amount coming to Donegal is 304,000, which is 85 extra. So the money for the men's sheds is in that there, and I would like 75,000 of that ring fence for the sheds. So that's why I'll be going to the county committee next Monday and have a motion in and asking them to write to the minister, the incoming minister, whoever it's going to be, to request that 75,000 be taken out of the LEP and just ring fenced for men's sheds and women's sheds in Donegal, because they're invaluable to the county.
Yeah, Hugh McGlynn's involved with the Ross's Men's Shed. In fact, he's the secretary. A busy men's shed, Hugh, 20-odd members. How important is the men's shed to the community, and particularly for the fellas, especially to be able to spend time with other men? Maybe you're not interested in sport, maybe you don't want to go to the pub. How important is it to have this space for lads to get together?
Very important, and first of all, thank you, Greg, for having us on, and good morning to yourself and your listeners.
and the brain there. It's unquantifiable, really, the benefit of a men's shed in an area or a women's shed, if you go to that. Because, it's a space where men can come out, get together, discuss things, in an environment that is, away from alcohol or away from any kind of other distractions. And I'm not saying that alcohol is
No,
an
it's
issue,
just an alternative.
Yeah. It's just an alternative. The pub's an alternative, and a very good alternative maybe for a lot of people, because a lot of men at the shed are single, they're maybe widowed, they're, living alone, and they're isolated. And, the benefit of a shed, it's just unreal. And you need to really be there and to be part of it to really express what it's like.
I mean, obviously, there's stuff goes on like woodwork and what have you. But when you talk of sort of maybe single people or recently widowed people who perhaps for right or wrong didn't have to cook a meal for themselves throughout their married life or what have you, and all of a sudden, they don't know a saucepan from a cooker, if you know what I mean. So there's courses on cooking and how they can maintain their mental health. There's an awful lot goes on in a men's sheds, really, is what I'm trying to get at.
Absolutely, Greg. I mean, for instance, in our shed, we make breakfast for the men every day, and we have sausages or some sort of hot food if we can, like sandwiches, toasted sandwiches, all sorts of things. And the men really enjoy that, and maybe some of them men come out of the house in the morning and don't eat anything. But that's really just part of it. I mean, we ran a Shed for Life last year, and we had cooking classes, and now again in January, at the end of January, now beginning of February, we're starting the class again, and we're going to have a cooking experience with air fryers, and we'll have a lady coming in and she'll be cooking.
I love it.
It's
a really good idea.
And like that,
yeah. Now I know myself too. There's no money in this, right? And often you feel like you have to beg just to keep the lights on, and some sheds will have days where stuff that's made is sold, and all that goes back into sort of maintaining and running the shed. In reality, you even with all of those challenges, you kind of knew you were going to get $3,000 annually. The truth be told, under this scheme, whilst it does seem like big money, you're going to be really possibly able to get 500 for the day-to-day keeping the head above the water stuff. So that's a significant cut in funding for you guys.
Well, Greg, the crux of the thing is Greg, we're a charitable organisation. We're non-profitable. So that in itself just tells you the problem that we have. We're not allowed to earn money, basically, to sustain ourselves. So this structure that the government had done up to now was ideal. There was a grant of up to $3,000 available for the running costs and the maintenance of sheds. And I mean, insurance is one of the biggest issues that sheds throughout Donegal and throughout Ireland have. I mean, for instance, our insurance cost alone is over $2,000 at the minute, because we're renting, we have a lease on the old school in Minamara from the church. We're paying €1,308 to the church for the building liability, and we're paying €715 insurance for our own public liability. Now that strangleholds us, and it strangleholds any other shed and every other shed that's in that situation, and that's only one of the costs. When you add electricity and all the other stuff, there's your issue. And the government had a brilliant system in where this $3,000 was available. You weren't handed out the $3,000, you had to receipt it to prove that you were spending this money, and it was an equal system for every single shed in Donegal and in Ireland, because it made us all equal, irrespective of the postcode we had or how isolated we were. And now they're putting it into a situation where county councils are going to be given the money to allocate, and we know what happens there. The pressure comes on, and the ring fencing of this money is the crux of the issue.
But you know what happens it gets sent back, right? Because maybe there's not enough drawn down on it, and then all of a sudden that funding is reduced next year because and on it goes, and that unfortunately is a vicious cycle that we often see.
Absolutely.
Brian.
Yes.
The contribution, the assets, to men's mental health. I know there's women's sheds in there as well, but listen, I think we're talking primarily men's sheds here, just in terms of community, mental health, productivity, the sense of being and part of something. but also then to the wider communities. Lots of people listening will see the men's shed very active in communities, things popping up maybe at St. Patrick's Day or at fairs or whatever it might be. This is a very small investment, and it's crazy
Greg,
that we're talking about it, I think, and pardon my opinion on this, but I think it's crazy that we should be squabbling over 75k. But I think common sense could prevail here. I suspect those that making the decision perhaps don't really understand exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's just that's really the same. And thanks for the opportunity to come on and explain to the listeners of why we're looking for it. As you said, you know, the significance of men's sheds in communities, the mental health benefits, the other local community supports as well, like the tiny towns, the community centres, the schools. Sheds help in every way, and to be like, this money is in the county at the moment. I'm just looking for it to be ring fenced just for men's sheds, taken out of the LEP, set aside so that the 25 sheds can just apply for this money and not go into the pot and fighting with the other 109
Well, hopefully that works. I hope this is not designed. Actually effectively to greatly reduce funding to men's shed. That would be awful if that were the case. All right, Brian, thanks for your time. We look forward to hearing what the response to that will be. This is an important issue. Hugh McGlynn, Secretary of the Ross's Men's Shed. Anything you need to plug? Anything coming up, Hugh, or are we all good?
Well, as I said, we're starting the Shed for Life again after Christmas and a cookery class and stuff. And, Greg, we could put the whole show into what men's sheds do in local areas. I mean, we're involved in all sorts of things, from helping schools to local organisations.
Well, do you know what? We have an item on the show, Monday Focus, and maybe Hugh, you, and we could get another couple of lads from other sheds to come into studio, and we can spend an hour some Monday talking about all the positivities of this. I'd love to do that if you'd be up for it.
That'd be a fantastic.
All right,
that'd be fantastic.
We'll do that, Hugh. We'll have a Monday Focus on men's sheds.
I'm just a representative of sheds in Donegal, just because we're the Ross's Men's Shed. Every shed is exactly in the same position.
Exactly. Of course, there's 25 and they're all in the same boat. And listen, I'm sure others will be messaging in, but we appreciate you coming on and outlining it, Hugh.
And just before you go, Greg, I would like to say that I did email all the county councillors in the Glenties and Lettsville district, about this last week. And it really is imperative that the councillors get behind this as one unit.
100%.
Because that's the only way to deal with this.
Yeah.
We had an equal system, and it's going to be unequal if we do it this way now. It was ideal the way it was set up, and it was set up. You put in your receipts, and that was it.
Yeah, no shenanigans. Everything was.
This is totally the wrong way to go about it, because we're going to be scrabbling around a table for scraps, and that's basically it.
Well, we can't have that. All right, take care of yourself. That's Hugh McGlynn, Secretary of the Ross's Men's Shed. The storm due at the end of this week has a name now. I think it's Owen. It's been named by the British Met Office, so it is on the way. We'll have a meteorologist on the show tomorrow to outline exactly what we can expect and not expect. There's a lot of fear porn, I can't say that, but out there, we're going to be buried in snow up to our ears, and what we're going to do is bring you, like we did through the last storm, the facts, okay? We don't want to put anyone off working with a local business or what have you, but at the same time, we don't want anyone going out when they shouldn't. So we're going to have the exact situ for you on the show tomorrow.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Transform your space with McCafferty Tiles Ballabufey, specialising in large format and designer tiles. We offer expert installation and free design consultation in our showroom or on site. Let us bring your vision to life with bespoke recommendations. Call 086 242 3604 or find us on Facebook and Instagram. McCafferty Tiles Ballabufey, showroom by appointment.
Are you looking for a powerful, high-performance laptop? Think green and save big with Ben Sweeney Euronics. Discover refurbished Lenovo ThinkPads that look and feel like new, with Windows 11 pre-installed and a rock-solid 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. Why pay full price when you can save up to 70% and do your part for the planet by choosing sustainable tech? Find yours today at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Hi mate, is your brother still in hospital?
He is, yeah. He's 3rd-degree burns everywhere, so he's facing years of surgery.
Does he know he missed the funeral?
No, he hasn't woken up yet.
Ah, no.
Yeah. Whatever about the surgery, he'll never recover from that.
Always check your smoke alarm and do everything you can to stop fire starting, because once it does, it will stop at nothing. Find out more at fireireland.ie. A message from the Government of Ireland.
How does one define grand? Acceptable. Grand. Not too much trouble. That's grand. Say no more. Grand so. It's time to redefine grand and change perceptions. The new Opel Grandland. It's grand. New Opel Grandland. Available in hybrid and electric. Go grand. Test drive the new Opel Grandland at Heron Auto Opel. See heronopel.ie for details.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Join us on March 8th for our special occasion preview with the sparkling afternoon tea in Harvey's Point. Tickets go on sale Friday 31st of January at 7 p.m. Available from mcelhenneys.com.
Okay, so sunny spells, a mix of cloud, just well scattered showers, mainly affecting the northwest areas. Cool, highest temperatures of 5 to 9 degrees in light southwest or variable breezes. And as I mentioned, the weather forecast, we are going to see on Thursday into Friday potentially strong gusts in this region with a named storm. So we'll keep you abreast of all of that, of course. Rightio, you are tuned to the 9 till noon show, and we are nearly bidding you farewell, but we do have time for a couple of comments. Kathleen says she has worked with men's sheds over the years. The impact they have for individuals and families is huge. They should be getting more funding, not less. It's an absolute lifesaver for men, and I think this is sort of an element to, literally in relation to that. I live in Inishowen. I've attended a lot of conferences in Donegal Town. It's far easier to get to Donegal Town than to travel Inishowen to Letterkenny. The traffic congestion in Letterkenny is outrageous and parking is difficult. You get to Donegal Town and you don't have to deal with traffic or a lack of parking. The traffic from Lurgybrack to the Polestar is shocking. It puts people off going to Letterkenny.